Ebbets Field, where the Brooklyn Dodgers once played and where history was made 50 years ago tonight. And tonight, thousands travel to Shea Stadium on a highway that now bears the name Jackie Robinson Parkway. He educated a nation, so it's only fitting that a school also shares his name. Hello again, everyone. I'm Robin Roberts, your host for this 50th anniversary tribute to Jackie Robinson, and it promises to be a memorable evening. At the end of the fifth inning between the Mets and Jackie's former team, the Dodgers, there will be a special ceremony on the field involving the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, and the ever-elegant Rachel Robinson, the widow of Jackie Robinson. We'll also hear from some of his former teammates like Wee Reese. We'll share some rare footage of Jackie Robinson. We'll also hear from him. It's quite moving. It's a delight for me to be working with Joe Morgan and John Miller on tonight's telecast. They'll call the game for us tonight, and they'll put into perspective his baseball accomplishments, but his impact goes far beyond the playing field. For because before Rosa Parks refused to step to the back of the bus, and before Martin Luther King Jr. stated his dream, there was April 15th, 1947, when Jack Roosevelt Robinson stepped onto the green grass of Ebbets Field in a white Brooklyn Dodgers uniform, advancing not only the game, but the nation.
One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
This is Shea Stadium in New York City. Tonight, it is the center of the baseball world. Tonight, we celebrate the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute on ESPN. The Dodgers and the Mets are playing the ball game, but we're interested in a few other things here primarily tonight. Good evening, everyone. This is John Miller, and I'm not a historian, but I know baseball, and I know all around baseball, the name Jackie Robinson always is preeminent. Jackie Robinson, who played his first game 50 years ago today in the major leagues, but who himself years later said that the most significant game for him, the most memorable game, was when he made the World Series in 1947. He said there he was, the black son of a former slave, the son of a former black sharecropper, and now he had made it to the World Series, the first black man ever to have done so. Tonight, we'll learn a few things about Jackie Robinson. We'll find out who he was, not so much historically, but who he was as a ball player, as well as meeting many of the people who played with him and against him. Mo Vaughn of the Boston Red Sox, he wears number 42 in tribute to Jackie Robinson. He is one of those we don't need to tell too many things to about who Jackie Robinson was. Mo told us a few things.
This man knew what he was going to go through before he went there, and still went. And see, that's the difference of most people. He knew already what was going to happen and still took the burden. And that's why he's probably stronger than anybody else. None of us in this modern day era could attempt to do the things that he had done. Too much pride. It should be something that should be celebrated every year. I say it all the time, it should be a national holiday. No, not enough people know the story, and not enough people understand in sports and athletics in general that's the reason why we can get on the basketball court, the football field, soccer field, hockey, do the things that we can do because of this man.
Well, Mo Vaughn certainly has the strong feelings. And Joe, and Joe Morgan, my partner here with me. Whether or not they decide to make this a national holiday, that's for somebody else to decide. But I know that you too have strong feelings about Jackie Robinson.
You're right, John. When most people think about Jackie Robinson, they think about him breaking the color barrier and making it possible for black players to play in the major leagues. But he did a lot more than that. Because of the way he carried himself and his dignity, he made it possible for black America to be viewed in a different way. He made it possible for white kids to view black people as heroes. He made it possible for the Colin Powells to have status in this country. He made it possible for the Michael Jordans and everyone else. So he did a lot more than just break the color barrier. He made America a better place.
All right, so we'll find out a lot of things about Jackie Robinson here tonight as we bring you this ball game, the 50th anniversary tribute to Jackie Robinson. Now, standing by on the field, Robin Roberts with a special guest.
All right. John, and with a special guest indeed, the grandson of Jackie Robinson, Jesse Sims. Unfortunately for you, your grandfather died before you were born. What is the first thing you remember being told about your grandfather?
I tell you, Robin, the first thing I remember about my grandfather is my family telling me the kind of the man he was, the family man he was. I really never learned about the baseball aspect of things until I was maybe 5, 6, or 7. So I could really understand exactly that he was more than a baseball player when it came to the sport, that the things that he did was more than just for the sport, but for the country.
Absolutely, and you are benefiting from his legacy. You were recruited to play football by major universities. You decided to go to your grandfather's old school, UCLA, so you're a young man who's benefiting from his legacy.
Yeah, I tell you, you know, it's tough not being able to, I guess people say, live up to the legacy of playing baseball. But I tell you, when I think of a legacy, I think of legacy of my grandfather, of the individual, the person he was. So I hopefully will continue on with the legacy at UCLA, where he attended, and being the male in the bloodline, the second male, I guess you can say, besides my uncle. You know, I hope to do that. I think that's the right thing to do for myself and my family.
Well, it's a special night for the Robinson family. You're going to throw out the first pitch. What kind of pitch is it going to be?
Split finger.
All right. Let's go back upstairs to John.
All right, Robin. This is the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute telecast from Shea Stadium. The Dodgers and Mets about to play ball, and a huge crowd has gathered. Stay with us. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute tonight from Shea Stadium in New York City. This is John Miller along with Joe Morgan. Pleased and honored to be a part of this special occasion, the 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson becoming the first African-American, the first black man to play in the major leagues, to be allowed to play. The New York Mets taking the field before the big crowd, a late arriving crowd, as all roads seem to be leading to Shea Stadium tonight, and they're all filled up. A crowd of upwards of 40,000, maybe toward 50,000 will be here, including some 14,000 or more school children from the inner schools of New York City who have been invited here as guests of the Mets to learn a few things about Jackie Robinson. And through the evening here in the ballpark, they will be showing special clips on the big video board about Jackie Robinson. And of course, we'll have many special guests up here. And in the middle of the ball game, we'll also be bringing you the special ceremonies that involve President Clinton and also Rachel Robinson. Now let's go to the voice of Shea Stadium for these special presentations. These are the colors being presented now by the Harlem Youth Marine Cadets coming in through the center field gate, and in the foreground you see the Mets outfielders Bernard Gilkey, Lance Johnson, and Alex Ochoa.
Anthem being performed tonight by a Tony Award-winning actress who can currently be seen as Miss Hannigan in the Broadway production of Annie.
Miss Nell Carter.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the relentless fight, all the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, saved us that star-spangled banner yet wave. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, throwing out the ceremonial first pitch tonight is Jesse Martin Robinson Sims, the grandson of Jackie Robinson.
And as he told Robin Roberts before, he will not follow in the footsteps of his grandfather as a baseball player, but he is following his footsteps in another way. He's going to be a football player at UCLA. As I understand it, a defensive back on his way to UCLA. He'll start playing next fall there.
Yeah, and he said that's the one thing that he wants to do, carry on the Robinson legacy at UCLA.
1947, 50 years ago today, it was opening day at venerable Ebbets Field, and of course a special day because for the first time a black man was in a major league uniform on a major league field in a major league game. Jackie Robinson that day played first base, and this was the lineup that day. The acting manager was Clyde Sutforth. It was Eddie Stanky at second. Jackie Robinson hit second at first base. Pete Reeser, a big star at the time, oft injured though, in center field. Dixie Walker batted cleanup in right field. Gene Hermansky in left. Bruce Edwards was the catcher. Spider Jorgensen, using an infielder's glove supplied to him by Jackie Robinson, was at third base. Wee Reese, whom we will visit with later on in our telecast tonight, was at short, and Joe Hatton was the Dodgers' starting pitcher on that historic day. Historic, perhaps even more in hindsight as we look back at it, because the newspapers of the day didn't seem to think much of it.
You're right.
Now here we are 50 years later, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And here's their contemporary lineup, brought to you by Coors. Brett Butler in center field. Wilton Guerrero, a rookie at second base. Raul Mondesi in right field. Mike Piazza, the catcher, hitting cleanup. Eric Karras is at first base. Todd Hollingsworth in left field. Todd Zeal, just acquired this year, at third base. Greg Gagne, the shortstop. And on the mound will be Ismael Valdez. And pitching for the New York Mets, just coming off the disabled list. And you see it's a cool night. He's blowing at his hand already. That is Armando Reynoso. And the Mets are wearing new uniforms tonight, which they will wear on special occasions in 1997. Armando Reynoso, formerly with the Colorado Rockies, and the first pitch of the game, and it is ball one. Temperatures expected to dip down into the low 40s during the ball game tonight. And a strike to Brett Butler. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Now, one of the things I'm looking forward to tonight is us exploring Jackie Robinson as a player. We know what he accomplished socially, but we want to view him as a player tonight. And a lot of people think about what he did breaking the color barrier, but he's also a Hall of Fame second baseman, so did a lot of great things on the baseball field.
2-1 to Brett Butler. Well, he went on to be the Rookie of the Year in that first season. It's a foul ball. And it is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Butch Husky, the third baseman, by the way, for the Mets over there, as Joey Amalfitano goes after that ball. Butch Husky wearing number 42 in honor of Jackie Robinson. We mentioned 1947, Jackie Robinson, a rookie. He hit .297, and he always had a very high on-base percentage. Led the league in steals and scored 125 runs, which was part of the job because he hit right near the top of the order, hit number 2 most of that year. But as a rookie, Jackie Robinson, the second baseman, played out of position. He played at first base. And there's ball 4. One of the ironies of Jackie Robinson playing first base was that they had a need there because it was an organizational decision that a young guy that they had had high hopes for in the past just wasn't going to cut it as a first baseman. A guy by the name of Chuck Connors that most of us remember in another venue as a very fine actor, particularly on television, as the Rifleman. Now here is Wilton Guerrero. Switch hitter batting left-handed. Todd Hundley gets him at first base.
Nice play there by John Olerud. Huntley took his time and then had to hurry because Guerrero was getting down the line. Let's take a look at the Mets defense. You see John Olerud there at first base, but fabulous glove man Ray Ordonez at shortstop. Butch Husky at third. Baerga and Olerud on the infield. Gilkey, Johnson, and Ochoa in the outfield. Todd Hundley behind the plate.
The Mets, unlike the Dodgers, are off to a very slow start. The Dodgers start today in a 3-way tie for first in the West, 8-3 for the year. But the Mets are 3-9. Here is Raul Mondesi, runner at second, 1 out. And a fastball misses outside for ball 1. Mondesi moved up to the number 3 spot on the order by manager Bill Russell during the spring, hoping that he'll get a few more pitches to hit with the great slugger Mike Piazza hitting right behind him. Mondesi has 4 home runs already this year. That's a called strike. Again, as we look around Shea Stadium, we can see that the big crowd is gathering. It will be a very large crowd. As you can see, they're extended from one foul pole to the other in this big old ballpark. But there's a huge line of traffic outside. Some of the roads a bit tied up because the Secret Service preparing a route for President Clinton to arrive at the ballpark, and so that kind of further snarled things up. So they'll be coming in as we are going along here early on. That's caught by Husky at third base. 2 down, and now we'll see Piazza.
Batting fourth, number 31, catcher Mike Piazza.
John Piazza, like Raul Mondesi, Eric Karros, Nomo, they've all been Rookie of the Year. Tal Hollingsworth, and as we know now, the Rookie of the Year in the National League, the award is named after Jackie Robinson. It's the Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year award. So kind of befitting that the Dodgers have won so many over the years.
The Dodgers have won more than anybody. 2 down, runner at second, and there's ball 1 to Piazza. Well, on opening day back in 1947, Jackie Robinson played first base, which was out of position for him. He played flawlessly that day, and he went hitless. However, in the key rally of the ball game late, after a walk to Eddie Stanky, he dropped down a bunt, and the pitcher hit him with the throw at first base. The ball flew away, and the runners ended up at second and third. Stanky at third, Robinson at second. And then Pete Reeser, the Dodgers were down by a run at that time, hit a double. Jackie Robinson scored what proved to be the winning run on that double, and they won the ball game 5-3. But the New York Times the next day, sort of in the theme of people sort of overlooking Jackie Robinson's presence that day, he said, the New York Times said basically, Jackie Robinson's day was uneventful. He was a great bunter, and he was a guy who made things happen, and even that day he sort of set the tone for what was to become synonymous with Jackie Robinson, because that bunt made things happen. He forced the issue, and it turned into a game-winning rally. 2 2-1 to Piazza. Eric Karras on deck. Piazza hitting .344, but only one extra base hit, one homer, and only 3 runs batted in. Such is his status now as a superstar that we look at .344 and we say, well, that's about normal for him. And then we see the power numbers down. Say, what's the matter with him?
He got off to a slow start last year, power-wise.
Well, first base open, and Piazza gets the walk. Well, we mentioned President Clinton here, and on the right side of your picture there is Rachel Robinson, the wife of the late Jackie Robinson. On the left is Senator Alphonse D'Amato, all sitting together here at Shea Stadium. On the right of the president, on the left side of your screen, is Alphonse D'Amato. President Clinton will be part of the ceremonies here in the middle of the ball game. As I understand it, he's going to make some sort of a presentation to Rachel Robinson. Here's Eric Karras, another one of those Dodger Rookie of the Years. Ball 1 from Reynoso. Sort of an odd feeling for me, Joe, and I'm sure for you too. Usually we come to the ballpark, we cover the game.
Yeah.
But tonight we have sort of another agenda. I mean, we're still interested in this ball game, and we'll cover the ball game, but we're going to have a lot about Jackie Robinson, and in fact, a little bit later, and not too much later, in the next half inning, we're going to chat via satellite with one of Jackie Robinson's teammates, Wee Reese, great former Dodger.
But John, I think in keeping with what Rachel Robinson wants this year to be and tonight to be, this is a celebration of Jackie Robinson's year in 1947, and tonight's a celebration of his opening day. And I think that celebration takes over first place here, as you can see the President of the United States here. That means it's special. And I tell you another reason I know it's special, John. Sandy Koufax is here. I mean, Sandy Koufax, you know, he has been out of the spotlight. He has been out of the spotlight for quite a while, and he does not come out very often. So that tells you that this is a big event tonight.
Very private man, and Sandy Koufax is here for this Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute. Karras drives one in the air down the right field line. Ochoa, long run. That ends the inning. The Dodgers leave 2 men on. No score in the game. Stay tuned. We will be hearing from Wee Reese when we come back. This ESPN baseball special is brought to you by Nike, who encourages you to participate in the lives of America's youth. From Shea Stadium in New York, the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. And here's the Coors Mets starting lineup. It'll be Lance Johnson in center field. John Olerud off to a hot start at first base. Bernard Gilkey in left field, had a great year last year, as did Todd Hundley, the catcher. Butch Husky at third base. Carlos Baerga, the former Cleveland Indian, at second base. Alex Ochoa right field. Ray Ordonez, the spectacular young shortstop. And Armando Reynoso is the pitcher, batting ninth. And on the mound for the Los Angeles Dodgers is the young right-hander from Mexico, Ismael Valdez. And this guy is a very large talent. Right now, when you think of the Dodgers of 1997, you think of that pitching staff first and foremost.
Well, let's take a look at the Dodgers defensively. Hollingsworth, Butler, and Mondesi in the outfield. Zeal, Gagne, Guerrero, Karras on the infield. Piazza behind the plate, as you said. Valdez on the mound.
And Lance Johnson comes to the plate. First ball swinging, which is not unusual. Brett Butler in left center. And just like that, there is one away. Well, in 1947, the opening day shortstop for the Brooklyn Dodgers, the day that Jackie Robinson played his first game, was Wee Reese. And Wee Reese, via satellite, is with us. And Pee Wee, down in Venice, Florida, welcome to our telecast. And welcome to this special tribute to Jackie Robinson, a former teammate of yours, and I know a great friend of yours.
Well, he certainly was, John, and it's nice to be with you tonight. And I wish I could have been there, but I had something a little bit more important, I think. But it will be over with real soon, like tomorrow or the next day.
Well, we wanted to ask you about that. How are you feeling?
A lot better than I did when I came down here.
Well, we know that you've been battling cancer, and I know that you have a lot of people with their prayers wishing you well all around the country. Well, a great play at second base by Wilton Guerrero, out number 2. So, Pee Wee, I mean, you're feeling well and everything's going well?
Yes, I am. I am feeling much better, and as I said, I wish I could have been there tonight, but it's just one of those things.
Well, you taking the time is just as important to me, Pee Wee, because I think you know over the years we've become friends, and I really admire you, not just so much for what you did for Jackie, but just as a human being. You're one of the good guys in this country. But, you know, I'd like to get your feelings or your thoughts. What do you remember, I guess, about that first day with Jackie Robinson?
Well, Joe, to tell you the truth, 50 years ago, it's pretty hard for me to remember what happened the first day. But, you know, in the time that I played with Jackie, I can remember a lot about him. What a great guy he was and what he taught me. You know, he taught me that a lot more than I helped him. I'm going to say that he helped me more than I helped him, Joe.
And I remember a conversation we had, and you made that statement. We'll get back to you, Pee Wee. Don't run away now. We're going to get back to you right after this intermission.
Bernard Gilkey called out on strikes. We played 1 inning from Shea Stadium. More with Pee Wee Reese when we come back.
I think it was Pee Wee Reese whose strength was, you know, quite good. Dixie wanted to know, how can you, a Southerner, not participate in this so-called boycott? But Pee Wee, from the outset, felt that if I were the only white guy trying to break into all black league, I'd want somebody to be my friend. And he says, if Jackie Robinson has the ability and he can make it, that's all I'm going to ask. And I think that's all black people are asking, is that we find in white America willingness to look at us on whether we have the ability or not and judge us that way.
Well, Pee Wee Reese is with us via satellite from Venice, Florida. Pee Wee, I hope you're able to hear that bit of an old interview with Jackie Robinson and what you meant to him when he first came up with the Dodgers.
I certainly did hear it, John, and that was very nice of him, and I really appreciate that.
You were telling me between innings there that when we showed that lineup, you didn't realize that you had hit 8th that day. Because you were used to hitting up at the top of the order, right?
Well, I hit second most of my career, yeah.
John Hollinsworth is the hitter for the Dodgers. We're in the 2nd inning, no score in the ball game. Pee Wee Reese is here with us. Pee Wee, 1947, the Dodgers with Jackie Robinson went down to Havana, Cuba for spring training, sort of far away from the South in the U.S. What do you remember about that spring training when Jackie coming to the Dodgers? We know there was some turmoil as Robinson himself. We heard heard the film clip there talking about the proposed boycott of some of the players. What do you remember about all that?
Well, of course, there was some of a boycott from the Dodgers, Dixie Walker and a few other fellows. But it never really got serious, I don't think, because there were so many of them there that would not sign any petition, even thinking about a boycott. And going to Havana.
Number 27, third baseman Todd Zeal.
Going to Havana, that made it a little bit easier too, because we didn't have to go through. We all ate at the same place, and at that time, we had to find a place for Jackie or to eat with someplace else beside where we ate, because they wouldn't allow him to eat there.
Pee Wee Reese is here with us. Todd Zeal, the hitter. We're in the 2nd inning, no score in this ball game. Tell us about Jackie Robinson as a player. I mean, how good was he?
Well, Jackie was, of course, he was. I guess at one time he was a shortstop, but when I'm glad he didn't play there. But I saw him at second base, you know, most of his career, and he didn't have the greatest arm in the world, but he got to second base, and he didn't move, and he weighed 200 and some odd pounds. And if you came in there, you didn't knock the ball away from him or knock him away from the bag. He just stayed right there, and he got rid of the ball real quick too.
Pee Wee, I know a lot of stories about the various things that happened, but there was a famous story with you. I think the Dodgers went to Cincinnati for the first time, and Jackie Robinson was getting a lot of grief, a lot of epithets being shouted to him, racial and otherwise, from Cincinnati players, and you did something, and you went over and stood next to him, put your arm around him. What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember that it was just something that I thought that I could do, or that I should do, because he was a teammate of mine, and being from Louisville and playing in Cincinnati, that I had a lot of friends come up there, and I guess I probably wanted to show them how I felt about Jackie and everyone else.
Well, a lot of people think that was the turning point, you know, that incident really helped him, you know, with the other players on the team and the other players in the league.
Joe, you know what? Jackie didn't need a whole lot of help, to tell you the truth. He had his the most courage I've ever seen of anyone, I'll tell you. And he was, I've seen him go up the plate, and somebody like Magley or Sam Jones would be throwing. He would invite him to throw at him. Now I said, Jack, you're crazy, man. I said, you just be quiet and just go on up there and hit. But he was, if you hit him with the ball, he'd probably end up stealing second base and third base. And
pitcher Ishmael Valdez.
But a lot of people may not know this, but you know, during the time that you played with Jackie, you stole about as many bases as he did. Did he have any kind of influence on you as stealing bases? How many bases did you steal before he came?
Well, I don't know, Joe, how many I did steal, but I led the league in stolen bases in 1953, and I didn't even realize that I did lead the league. Of course, in Brooklyn or in Ebbets Field, the team we had, we didn't run that much. We had guys, you know, like Snyder, Campanella, Jackie, and Carrillo were all power hitters, so we didn't run too much. If I tried to steal second, and when I was hitting second, and Duke Snyder was up there and I got thrown out, Duke would be a little upset with me.
Well, we're showing a graphic, Pee Wee, that during the length of Jackie Robinson's career, that you and he were the two leading base stealers in the league at that time. Well, Pee Wee, the second inning having ended, the Dodgers going down. Pee Wee Reese, many, many thanks for being with us, and good health to you. All of our prayers are with you.
Good luck, Pee Wee.
Thank you very much, Joe, John.
We'll
nice
return to Shea
you.
Stadium. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute on ESPN from Shea Stadium in New York. Now coming up tonight at 12:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Pacific, it's a special encore presentation of ESPN's critically acclaimed Outside the Lines, featuring Jackie Robinson and about Jackie Robinson. This includes first-hand accounts by many of Robinson's opponents discussing the rumored boycott on opening day of 1947, which, as we discovered on that show, were a little bit more than just a rumor. That's tonight, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific, right here on ESPN. And my partner, Joe Morgan, was part of that program. Well, here is Todd Hundley, and he takes ball one from Ishmael Valdez. No score in the game in the last of the second. Once again, many, many thanks to Pee Wee Reese. And he is undergoing an ordeal right now.
Yes.
Anyone who's ever had to battle cancer, who's had a family member who's had to battle cancer, would have some idea the kind of ordeal he's undergoing down there. And again, we repeat all of our prayers and best wishes to Pee Wee Reese. who not only played ball at a high level for years and years and years, but then went on to much prominence for many years with Dizzy Dean on the old Game of the Week.
Yeah, but you know what I remember most about Pee Wee is the years I spent in Cincinnati. He always made sure I had good wood in my bats. When he worked for Hillers and Bradsby for a long period of time, and he made sure, he and Rex Bradsby, they'd come down and make sure I had good wood when he brought it down. He used to drive it down from Louisville a lot of time. We, again, spent a lot of time sitting in the locker there with he and myself, Pete Rose. We talk about, you know, the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Cincinnati Reds. So I go way back with Pee Wee, and I've had an enjoyable time of sitting and talking to him.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Todd Hundley facing Ismael Valdez, with Husky and Baerga to follow here in the 2nd inning. Wee Reese, teammate of Jackie Robinson all those many years ago.
And the captain of the Dodgers. Also a Hall of Famer in his own right.
Right center, Butler. And that is one away. Well, we talked a lot about Jackie Robinson as a player. Richie Ashburn.
Robinson in a rundown. I mean, usually that's, you know, that's bing, bing, it's an out. Well, it got so when we would get him in a rundown, we would just try to keep him at the base he came from, not the one he was going to, because he made the one he was going to a lot of times.
Well, you know, Joe, there is a famous old story about a rundown against Ashburn's Phillies. They had Jackie Robinson hung up between 3rd and home, and finally they ended up exposed at the plate, and the throw got away. Robinson headed home, and Russ Meyer, the pitcher, was at the plate without the ball, and he still tried to put a tag on Jackie Robinson. I guess to deke him, or who knows what, or just to do something to him. And Jackie Robinson, the former football player, I mean, he hit him hard and knocked him flying as he scored the run. Husky is down on strikes, out number 2 here.
Batting 6, number 8, second baseman Carlos.
Husky chases a breaking ball from Valdez over the outer part of the plate, and he becomes the 2nd strikeout victim for Valdez.
And here is Carlos Baerga. Husky, by the way, who wears number 42 in honor of Jackie Robinson. And yesterday they had a small ceremony during batting practice right here at Shea Stadium, where Husky presented one of his New York Mets home number 42 jerseys to Jesse Sims as part of the tribute to Jesse's grandfather, Jackie Robinson. Well, Joe, one thing when we talk about Jackie Robinson, and we heard Richie Ashburn talking about him as a base runner, and I'm really interested in getting your perspective as one of the great base stealers of all time and a great base runner. And that's still to come, as on the broken bat, Baerga flies out to right. No score here after 2 innings. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute will continue.
Jackie Robinson.
Thank you, Carl, and welcome back to Shea Stadium in New York. No score here as we head to the top of the 3rd inning, and the top of the batting order will be coming up for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Probably, right?
Yeah, but I mean, what are you doing?
And we're going to be joined here by a very special person on this particular night, Joe, because as we honor the anniversary of Jackie Robinson playing his very first game in the Major Leagues 50 years ago, the first black man ever allowed to play in the big leagues. That same year, there was another pioneer who broke that barrier in the American League, the first black man to play in the American League with the Cleveland Indians.
Chris, you need to watch the thing on.
Brett Butler takes the ball, and of course we're talking about Larry Doby, who was a great slugger, a different kind of player than Jackie Robinson, but also every bit the pioneer. And Larry, welcome to our telecast.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Larry Doby broke in as a rookie, 1947, and I think it was it July of 47?
July 45th, 47, right.
July 5th of 1947. And Jackie Robinson, and you recall your thoughts, your sentiments when Jackie Robinson broke that barrier?
Well, I was very happy because I was in the Navy and I was in the South Pacific in 1945, and it came over the radio that Mr. Robinson had gotten a contract with Mr. Rickey. And of course, any Afro-American who played in Negro leagues and other places certainly thought that there would be an opportunity. And I had another thing happen to me. On that island with me was Mickey Vernon and Billy Goodman. And Mickey Vernon, who was the first base for Washington Senators, and Billy Goodman played for Boston Red Sox second base. We used to go out and throw batting packs to each other. And Mickey mentioned to me, he said, you know, you got a good opportunity to be a major league player. So he put my name in to Mr. Griffith, but at the time they weren't, they weren't ready for Afro-American ball players. So when you see those two kinds of people, major league players, and they're giving you that kind of, ideas and thoughts and opinions, and you get really gun-ho about playing Major League Baseball.
So this is World War II?
Yeah.
And you were in the South Pacific?
South Pacific, yeah. Yeah. That's the lonely spot. I hope I never life go back there again. I don't think I could take it. I'm too old for it.
Well, but also, how lonely was it being the first Afro-American player in the American League?
It was lonesome because, all the games that I'd played, high school, college, and even Newark, my team and I would be together. Kids in high school, of course, you go home, go to this fountain, get a soda or something like that. But and when I first got to Cleveland, of course, I was all by myself, and it was a little lonesome. The most happiest time was on the ball field.
There were a lot of players that I've talked to in the past said that because of Jackie going to the Dodgers, they wanted to follow in his footsteps and go to the Dodgers. You ever think about going to the Dodgers or want to play for the Dodgers?
No, to tell you the truth, I had thought about playing anywhere in the major leagues.
I got you.
And when I found out that Mr. Vick was scouting me, then I got real happy about that. But Joe, when you talk about baseball and you talk about Jackie getting the opportunity, and at that time, no one thought that would ever happen. So when it did happen, everybody was enthusiastic about playing Major League Baseball. And believe me, there were a lot of players in that league could play.
We're in the third inning here. Brett Butler having singled. Wilton Guerrero is the hitter. No score, the Dodgers and the Mets.
I know you were second, so to speak, and sometimes in this country we have a tendency to forget who's second. Whether you finished second in a pennant race or you were the second in your race to play in the major leagues. But you were first in a lot of ways. I mean, the World Series, lead the league in home runs. So you did have some first.
Oh yeah, a lot of times people say, well, you don't get the due that you do. I think I get what I'm due. I think the media has been good to me. And when they talk about first, I said, well, look, I have some first too now. First in the American League. First Afro-American to hit a home run in the World Series. First Afro-American to win a World Series. And, of course, leading the league in home runs. So I've had some firsts. But, one thing, Joe, I think we have to think about is that Jackie was first. And I think he should get whatever's happening tonight or whatever happened from here on, it should be his. There's no question about it. And I'm not the kind of guy who want to put any rain on his parade. No way in the world. Because if he hadn't been signed by Mr. Rickey, I would not be here talking to you now. And the second thing you got to realize, if he hadn't been successful, I wouldn't be talking to you now. And the second thing, the third, is that I wouldn't be talking to you now if I hadn't been successful.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I brought that up was I wanted you to give your opinion, because we have discussed this so many times on the golf course and around, having dinner together, because, I'm obviously a big fan of yours as well as Jackie Robinson's.
Right.
Well, and also that brings up, is Jackie Robinson as the first one, because he had to promise Mr. Rickey, Branch Rickey, that he would always turn the other cheek.
Listen, I think we're both very fortunate to have two good people. Mr. Rickey, no question, and Bill Veeck. I could have never done that without Bill Veeck. No, there's no way. Because, when he would call me at night and say, how's things? And that would automatically make me feel good. I'm ready to go to the ballpark the next day. And he was a great lover of jazz. So wherever there was jazz involved, George Shearing, Irv Garner, Dizzy Gillespie, he would take me and we'd sit and enjoy jazz. And he was just great. I've always said that I lost my father when I was 8 years old. And I would have liked my father to have been the same kind of man Bill Beck was. Now, a lot of people may disagree with me, but I know because I dealt with him for a long time.
And he also gave you the opportunity to manage in the Major Leagues.
Exactly. Wasn't too long, but at least I got the opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's another second.
Yeah.
Following another Robinson.
Exactly.
Mike Piazza is the hitter with 2 men on, 1 man out here in the 3rd inning. We're visiting with Larry Doby. And on Jackie Robinson tribute night here at Shea Stadium. Something you mentioned a little bit earlier. Jackie Robinson, the first Afro-American to play in the majors. And that sort of subplot, what if he failed? And you're talking about yourself as another black man, and that was part of the trial by fire of Jackie Robinson.
You know, we're talking about 11 weeks. Okay, so I think we both had to be successful. If he wasn't successful in 47 and I wasn't successful in 47, part of 47 and 48, then it might not have been. It might have been a long period of time before another Afro-American got the opportunity. But you know, I don't think at any time he thought or I thought that we couldn't play baseball. Right. I mean, the name has changed from the Negro Leagues to the Major Leagues, but it's still baseball. So if you have a certain amount of ability, you can do it. And I know one thing, that I played against some of the best players I've ever played against in my life in the Negro Leagues. There are players that people don't know about, don't even mention. There's a fellow by the name of Pee Wee Butts, shortstop for the Baltimore Eli Giants, who played with Campion, Joe, and Gilliam. Was another Rizzuto. There Willie Wells, they just put in the Hall of Fame, was another Boudreaux. So there were some great players in that league. And if you look at the early part of the league, most of us came out of that league. Yeah. So that evidently we must have had some good talent, and we must have played against some good people, competition-wise. We all know Josh and Satch and Buckler and those kind of guys, but there's some guys that people don't know about that were great players.
Well, as Piazza has a swinging strike 2. What about Jackie Robinson as a player? Now, you were in different leagues, but you knew of him. Did you ever play against him or with him?
We barnstormed together in 47, 48, and 49, and then they had a Sandlot League, they call it, where Brooklyn would be in Cleveland, play a game, and then we'd come to Brooklyn and play a game, and the proceeds went to Sandlot Baseball. So played against him, I guess, about maybe 4 or 5 times in my career.
Well, how good was he?
Very good.
Down on strikes.
Very good player. You know, everybody knows, you know, he could steal bases and good hitter and of course a good fielder. So you put him in the category with most players who are playing today and with players that played during his time, and with the guy to my right, Joe Morton, who's a great second base. He would know more about the second base than I would because he played it in the Major Leagues. I played it in the Negro League.
I saw that you were an infielder. That surprised me.
I never played the outfield before in my life. Got the base. Even in the streets playing with kids, I never played the outfield before in my life. But I was lucky because I had a good coach named Bill McKechnie, who said to me, he said, you know, in 47, when I was on my way home, he said, you know, you have a fellow by the name of Joe Gordon playing second base. You have Boudreaux playing shortstop, and you have Ken Keltner playing third base. It's going to be awful tough. Yeah. So he said, you ever played the outfield? I said, no. He said, well, when you go home this winter, buy a book on how to play the outfield. So I bought a book written by Tommy Henry, How to Play the Outfield. So I go to spring training in 48. Boudreaux put me in right field, and the rest of it is history.
Well, I know that baseball is honoring you this year at the All-Star game. As we take a look at your World Series home run.
1948.
It was nice to be young.
Johnny Shea on the mound.
Hey, man, you kind of bailed a little bit there, though.
But good risk.
Oh, okay. All right.
Good risk.
There's a little bit of irony to that. You hit the home run against Johnny Shea, who the year before was the pitcher when Jackie Robinson played his first game in the Major Leagues 50 years ago today.
That's right. That's right.
And you took him deep, though.
Yeah. Well, I had more power than Jack. Jack was a better runner, but I had more power.
Well, Larry Doby here with us. We're in the top of the 3rd inning at Shea Stadium, New York. The Dodgers nothing, the Mets nothing. The Dodgers with a threat here. 2 men on, 2 men out. Mike Piazza having just been called out on strikes. Eric Karras, the hitter, with a 1-ball-and-2 strike count. And it is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, an historic night here at Shea Stadium. And Larry Doby, you all right? Everything going well for you?
Everything's great. Family is good. My kids are all working, and I'm pretty healthy. I can play some golf, and my wife is in good shape. Listen, life's good. Life's been good, and you know, I'm saying this because it's a fact. I owe it all to baseball. If I hadn't gotten the opportunity to play baseball, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today. And I thank God. Thank God for the ability. I thank Mr. Rickey, Mr. Beck, and Mr. Robinson.
Well, and that's what we're here for tonight, paying tribute to Jackie Robinson. And we really appreciate your stopping by, Larry, coming into town for this and helping make it a special night.
Always good to see you. Always good to see you, Joe.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. See you on the golf course again.
All right, buddy. And I'll take the strokes.
Okay.
That's Larry Doby. And he did not make it into the Hall of Fame this year, Joe.
But he will.
A lot of people are hoping that maybe next year will be the year. Larry Doby, second in the MVP voting back in 1952, two-time home run champion in the American League, six-time All-Star. And that's outside. Well, this is the special night here at Shea Stadium. We're trying to bring you the ball game, but also even more so trying to pay tribute to Jackie Robinson, the 50th anniversary of his breaking what they called at that time the color barrier in Major League Baseball. The President of the United States, Bill Clinton, is here tonight as part of the tribute, and he will be part of our telecast here in the fourth inning as we understand it, so stay tuned for that. John Olerud in foul ground. And Reynoso gets out of a big jam with the Dodgers' biggest hitters. Mondesi, Piazza, and Karras go down in order. Stranding two. No score.
Robinson kind of shaking up the ballpark a bit as he dances down on third. Robbie's coming to the plate. The throw to Berra. He steals it.
September the 28th, 1955, a dramatic steal of home by Jackie Robinson. And of course, Phil Rizzuto, I heard, Joe, said that play, although it ended up in a losing game for the Dodgers, he felt turned that World Series around sort of emotionally. Said the Yankees won that game, and yet they didn't even celebrate afterward, as Jackie Robinson went out and he made something happen. He made a statement, and the Dodgers, for the first time, the only time in Brooklyn, brought the World Series championship home.
And you know what's funny is I've talked to Yogi Berra on several occasions, and Yogi Berra swears that he was out. I mean, Yogi, we won't hear it. He will not hear anyone say that Jackie was safe on that particular play.
Well, and Whitey Ford was the pitcher. He also felt the same thing. Well, let's take a look. What do you think?
Well, watch his glove. Now, Jackie's foot hits the plate. Yogi puts his glove in the middle. Now, watch when we finish. Right there. See, Jackie's foot is on the front of the plate. Excellent call by the umpire. He hit the front of the plate, and Yogi tags him about 4 inches onto the plate, maybe 3 inches. So it was very close play. So I can see where Yogi thought he was out. Yogi said he blocked the plate, but didn't have the plate blocked.
Well, Bill Summers was the plate umpire. That was a very controversial play. It was also kind of controversial because it came in a spot with two men out, eighth inning. They're down by 2 runs.
Right.
And he stole home to make it 6-5. It was a very risky play. But that's, I guess, part of Jackie Robinson. He was not afraid of taking a risk. In a way, his whole career was a risk. That's a base hit for Alex Ochoa of the Mets.
Well, we're talking about Jackie as a base stealer. Let's take a look at him as a hitter. Now look, he holds his hands up high and he doesn't drop them down here like a lot of hitters. He keeps his hands above the strike zone. See where they stay way up above the strike zone? I mean, that is a beautiful swing right there. Look at that. Level, and we showed you with Ken Griffey Jr. a couple of weeks ago. Good balance, and he drives the ball. I mean, that he had fundamentally, I mean, looked great as a hitter there.
And of course, part of the big crowd here, not just for the ball game, but to pay tribute to Jackie Robinson, the 50th anniversary of his becoming the first African-American, the first black player ever to play in the major leagues, the first black ever to be allowed to play in the major leagues. Ordonez, they get one, and it's a double play. So after the Ochoa infield single, the Dodgers turn a double play from Zeal to Guerrero to Karras.
Nice play there by Guerrero at second base. Throw comes over by Zeal. Now watch it. Tough throw. The ball was down a little bit. He makes the turn, shows a good strong arm. And that's why the Dodgers are touting him as the Rookie of the Year, thinking that he may win the Jackie Robinson Award.
The special artwork that is on patches being worn by major leaguers all around baseball this year. And this is a year-long tribute to Jackie Robinson.
I like to use the words that Rachel Robinson, his widow, uses, and that's a year-long celebration. She wants this to be a celebration of that year for Jackie Robinson and what he went through, and a celebration for baseball in the country.
And the swinging strike 3. We'll be chatting with the President of the United States a little bit later. Right now, after 3 innings from Shea, no score. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute from Shea Stadium, New York. And you see the huge crowd that is here at this big old ballpark. And part of the celebration of Jackie Robinson. And Rachel Robinson is here. She'll be part of the ceremonies in the middle of the ball game, along with President Clinton. You know, in his book, Joe, Jackie Robinson's autobiography called I Never Had It Made, in the preface, he wrote about Rachel Robinson. He said, Rachel was even more important to my success. She shared those difficult years that led to this moment and helped me through all the days thereafter. She's been strong, loving, gentle, and brave, never afraid to either criticize or comfort me. And strong lady, a great lady.
Great lady. I think the quotation about behind every great man there's a great woman was written with Rachel Robinson in mind. I think I've had the opportunity to spend time with her, and I mean, she is a fantastic lady. And
nice pickup by Olerud. Reynoso covering, and Hollingsworth is retired.
Nice play there by Olerud, and a good play by Reynoso to get over there.
Third baseman Todd Zeal.
This ball's hit hard, but you see Olerud way off the line, so not expecting him to pull, but he goes way in the hole, comes up with it. Now here's the tough part, to hit the pitcher on the run, and he does so. Nice play.
And Hollingsworth gets up that line fairly well. He's pretty fast. One down, and Todd Zeal comes up. One out, nobody on. Here is Zeal. Started last year with the Phillies, ended up with Baltimore, and ended up in the postseason. But one of his dreams always was to go home to Southern California and play for the team he rooted for as a kid, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And now he has realized that dream. And that's a ball. 2 balls and no strikes, the count. You know, Jackie Robinson was not just a baseball player. And I don't mean, I'm talking about the athlete now. I'm not talking about what he did as a pioneer and all of that. I mean, he was a great all-round athlete who was outstanding at other sports. He's the only man in the history of UCLA athletics who got a letter in 4 different sports: track and field, football, basketball, and baseball. And many who were there at the time said probably baseball was only his 4th best sport.
Right. But there are a lot of people, John, who believe that he may have been the best athlete ever in this country. A lot of people who saw him play. And there are the numbers right there that you're talking about. Led the league, the Pacific Coast League, in scoring in basketball. Broad jump champion, NCAA broad jump champion. 12.2 yards per carry as a football player. And not very good as a baseball player, but that, as you said, that was his worst sport.
Well, and that year, 1940, he had the poor batting average, but there were other years, even in college, where he did much better than that. Greg Gagne, base hit. Zeal will stop at second. Jackie Robinson, a great all-round athlete, and he felt, he wrote in his own book, that basketball maybe was his best, but you see some of the other events there. And this was a punt return, and he was one of the great open field runners that anybody ever saw in football. I mean, watch this play. Almost everybody on that team had a chance to tackle him, Joe.
Kind of reminds me of some of the runs I saw Jim Brown make. They just couldn't get him down.
Jackie Robinson. I mean, as a football player, after the 1940 season, he was named to the College All-Star team. And the College All-Stars in the following summer would always play the NFL champion. And that summer, as you see the bluff of the bunt there by Valdez, they played the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears had become the champion in a legendary game. They beat the Washington Redskins 73-0 that year. One of the most lopsided defeat in history. They were a great club. And then they beat the college All-Stars 37-13. But Jackie Robinson scored one of the touchdowns on a pass in that All-Star game against the Bears. And the Bears defensive end, Dick Plassman, said afterwards, says the only time we were worried was when that guy Robinson was on the field. And that All-Star team included guys like All-Americans Tom Harmon, who was a legendary football player. So rather high praise from one of the pros for the young Jackie Robinson, the football player. As a football player, he once returned a kickoff 104 yards for a touchdown. He had a 99-yard run from scrimmage for a touchdown. He had an 83-yard punt return. And he also passed for 7 touchdowns. He kicked 3 field goals. And he had 20 extra points that he kicked. And he played defense as well. 2 men on, 1 man out here for the Dodgers. No score in this game. That's a foul ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He one time in 1938, there was a big track meet. He was in junior college at that time, but they had this big meet, and he was doing what they called the broad jump at that time, which is now the long jump. And he also had a big baseball game that day. So his coach arranged for him to do all of his jumps early on before everybody else. And then they drove him over to where the baseball game was. He changed into his uniform on the way over and helped his team win a big playoff game in baseball the same day. And that day, by the way, one of his jumps was 25, 6.5 feet, 25 feet, 6.5 inches. They get the force out at third base, which set a national record, breaking the record that had been set by his brother Mac.
And his brother Mac finished second to Jesse Owens in the 200 meters in the Olympics.
Had it not been for World War II, he probably would have been a favorite for a gold medal in the Olympic Games. Tomorrow night on ESPN, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, Cal Ripken, Rafael Palmeiro, Roberto Alomar, the Baltimore Orioles against Albert Bell, Frank Thomas, and the Chicago White Sox. The Orioles are hot, and the Sox are really slumping. And then following that at 10:30, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. It'll be Keith Tkachuk against Teemu Selanne and the Coyotes of Phoenix and the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Hockey right here on ESPN. Brett Butler with 2 men on and 2 men out. Jackie Robinson, as you mentioned, Joe, as we saw in that graphic, also an outstanding basketball player. And in each of 2 seasons at UCLA, as we saw, he was the leading scorer in the Southern Division of the Pacific Coast Conference. And those were the days where, you know, a 41-38 score was pretty common. I mean, getting over 50 points, now that was a big scoring day for a whole team. And he averaged better than 12 points a game to lead the conference in his first year at UCLA.
Trying to say they didn't have a shot clock there.
Yeah, no shot clock. It was the dead ball era of basketball. That's a foul. Right past Reggie Smith. 2 balls and a strike to Brett Butler, who has walked and singled in this game. No score. We're in the 4th inning at Shea Stadium. Duke Snider, who was a great Dodger player, also grew up in Southern California, as did Jackie Robinson. And Snider tells the story of being in Compton and watching Jackie Robinson play college baseball and then leaving between innings to go over to the track meet, which was on a field adjacent, and between innings doing a long jump event and then coming back in time to take the field for the next inning of the baseball game. Come back to the baseball game, said Duke, as if, you know, it was nothing unusual. That is just foul. 3 balls, 2 strikes. The President of the United States, Bill Clinton, is here tonight as part of the festivities, lending a great deal of the prestige of his office to this night. And momentarily, before he goes down on the field for the ceremonies, And he will be visiting with our Chris Berman here at Shea Stadium. So stay tuned for that. We'll be visiting with the President of the United States as part of the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute. Pickoff play at second. Nice grab there by Ordonez on kind of a wild throw.
Well, I think it's great that the President is here tonight and will help celebrate this 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's breaking the color barrier, because I know civil rights is one of his main topics.
So the President will be on here on ESPN with us very shortly, so stay tuned. Butler to Ordonez. That ends the inning. The Dodgers have stranded 7 men in 4 innings. No score from Shea Stadium, and now the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tributes. Here with the President of the United States is our Chris Berman.
All right, John and Joe, thank you very much. The first fan, President of the United States, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
How are you moving around?
I'm doing fine. How are you moving around?
Maybe a little slower than you, but I know this is an important night for you to come, and obviously not moving the way you like. This one was on your calendar all the way, with Jackie Robinson represented.
Mrs. Robinson, and I've had the honor of knowing for about 5 years. I admire her very much. And Jackie Robinson means something very important to America, not just to baseball, but to America.
This night represents many things, doesn't it?
It does. It represents the beginning of baseball opening up. You know, now there are lots of Hispanic players in baseball. Now the Dodgers are here with a Japanese player. It's a very different world than it was 50 years ago, and he was the beginning. But he also was a part of the beginning of America opening up and opening its doors and beginning to act more like one country.
Mr. President, do you feel that there is a rebirth with a celebration of the 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's first game, a rebirth of awareness of not only what he did, but maybe of what happened in civil rights in the 60s and 70s that our young people are kind of learning?
I hope so. I hope that all young baseball players will know about Jackie Robinson, and I hope that Americans now, we're about to start a new century as not just a black and white society, but as a truly multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious society, that we'll go back to the lesson of that Dodger team and realize that we got to play as a team. And if we do, we'll all do better. It's a great asset, really, to have different kinds of people with their different God-given talents. Jackie Robinson taught us that, and it's an important time to remember it.
To be a hero, as he truly was on many different levels, do we have heroes like that now? Can we?
Sure we can. But there's always something about being the first. And I think when you're the first, you almost have to have more inner discipline, better work habits, more internal dignity, because you're going to be subject to various slights. I think, you know, it's wonderful that this anniversary is coming the weekend after Tiger Woods smashed all the records at the Masters, because he has a lot of the same personal characteristics that we associate with Jackie Robinson. And so I think that's true, but there are an awful lot of people out there playing now and living their lives and doing things that I think qualify as heroes because of the way they live and the kind of values they have.
Lance Johnson, by the way, the batter. It's a 1-1 count. It's a scoreless game here in the bottom of the fourth. Didn't want you to miss any of the action. It's been 50 years since, pitcher's duel, classic National League ball game. A tight one that at speed, if a Jackie Robinson might be able to bust open. 50 years since he broke the color barrier to the day. Do you think there has been 50 years worth of progress in civil rights, not only, baseball, in the United States?
Oh, absolutely, I do. On the other hand, I think we still got a long way to go. But if you look at it, for example, high school graduation rates among African Americans are almost equal to the rates among white Americans now. Hispanics still lagging behind. We need to get that up now. There are lots of things that have changed for the better, but there are a lot of things that still aren't right. All of our children, particularly our poorest children, don't have equal access to education and health care and the best kind of future. The crime rates are still too high. The drug problems and other abuse problems are too great. And there are still too many areas where African Americans and other minorities are not really represented. If Jackie Robinson were alive today, he'd say, when I left baseball, I was an executive in business, and then I started this bank, and I want to know why there aren't more African Americans in the front office. I want this thing diversified more. So I think there have been 50 years worth of progress. Yes, there have been. And if you look around at the rest of the world, if you look at Bosnia, if you look at Northern Ireland, if you look at the Middle East, if you look at the tribal wars in Africa, you just thank God that America has made the progress we have. But if you look at the future, you realize we still have a lot more to do if we're going to make this the kind of country it ought to be.
Can you imagine if Jackie Robinson, if that did not happen in 1947, or he was not available to do that, and that maybe more time had elapsed? Can you imagine? I know 50 years is a long time, but can you imagine what baseball and really America would be like if he had not had the bravery to do what he did?
Yeah, and if he hadn't done what he did, and Branch Rickey hadn't done what he did, Wee Reese hadn't run the team like he did, it would have been a very different world. But Jackie Robinson, you know, maybe fate has a way of doing that in history, but he had a unique blend of talent and character to do what he did, and it's made a real difference. It made a real difference to the way people thought about race. I think that's more important than the fact that he was a great baseball player. Because baseball really was our national pastime then, too. In a way that there was no competition from highly televised pro basketball or pro football or anything else. You know, it was the thing. And so it was as important as it was that 3 years later basketball was integrated and other things happened. This was a huge deal. Most Americans now can't even imagine how big a deal it was. This was a year before President Truman signed the order to integrate the Army. This was a huge deal.
Well, it's really 15 years plus before marches in the 60s.
You got it.
I mean, it was so far ahead of its time almost.
Almost a decade before Rosa Parks.
Yep.
I mean, and it was baseball, you know. So it was a statement about America. Anything you said about baseball in the 40s and the early 50s, it was a statement about America.
By the way, Olerud is at first base with a single, one out. Bernard Gilkey is up.
He's doing better in New York, isn't he, Olerud?
Well, he's in other leagues.
But he's hitting well again, and it's good. It's been a good move for him.
It kind of got a little stale for him.
Yeah, it's good for him.
Toronto. Did you ever get up to see Jackie Robinson play? I don't know how many Cardinal games you went to. Arkansas was a good drive from there, but
no, I only one time when I was a child, my father took me on a train to St. Louis to watch a game, but they weren't playing the Cardinals. I mean, they weren't playing the Dodgers. But we didn't get a television until 1956. But it was right after the 55 season, right after the Boys of Summer. So for 2 years, I sat transfixed in front of my television set. And tonight we had a contest in the place where I'm sitting to see how many people could remember the names of the people on the 55 team, how many names you can remember. I quit at 7, and I hadn't even thought about it. So, you know, I mean, and I still remember the first time I saw Jackie Robinson with that hitch in his swing and the way he ran, sort of almost, on television, looked almost like he was bent over, you know. It was an amazing thing. I remember just being transfixed by it.
Well, you have these images, all of the old Crystal set, right, which is how you followed your baseball, and so many people did, certainly in the 50s. When you finally saw him, or now that you've seen him afterwards on the old newsreels, et cetera, was that the image you had of him as a boy, like listening on the radio, or was he even more impressive in person?
More impressive in person. But I used to do my homework at night, listening to the Cardinals games on the radio. So I probably shouldn't say that's a bad example for students.
We all did.
But I did. And so he was better than I thought he would be. He was beautiful. I mean, he was fabulous watching him.
You're excited about this evening, aren't you?
I am. It's very important. I think that it's also good for baseball. This night will capture the attention of America and make everybody forget about some of the things they didn't like that happened the last 2 years, and make people fall in love with baseball again, I hope.
As we did the night of the Cal Ripken game.
Yep, we did.
I have to ask you this. It's April 15th. Taxes done?
Yep. Paid them all.
Because I might be able to get you an extension. I know people.
I don't think I think I got to set a good example, you know. I'm surprised all these baseball players shook hands with me tonight. You know, they make more money than Jackie Robinson did, so they probably weren't very happy to see me tonight.
Oh, I think they were. I think you honored everybody with your presence. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Good to see you again. Let's go back to John Miller and Joe Morgan.
And thank you, Chris, and also many thanks to President Clinton for being here tonight as part of this celebration. And The final out of the inning, Todd Hundley with the line drive into right center field. One hit, one left. We're still scoreless here from Shea Stadium. Guerrero, Mondesi, and Piazza coming up. Stay with us. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute from Shea Stadium, New York. They were the Brooklyn Dodgers then. And there, the grandson of Jackie Robinson, Jesse Martin Robinson Sims. And he threw out the first ball tonight and had to run the gauntlet of autograph seekers here at Shea Stadium. Figuratively, on his way to UCLA, the alma mater of his grandfather. And Jesse will be on the UCLA football team come the autumn. The Dodgers of 1997 with Wilton Guerrero, their best hope perhaps at this point for another Rookie of the Year. He'll be followed by Mondesi and then Piazza here in the 5th.
And his brother up in Montreal is another candidate, but he's on the injured list. So
Vladimir Guerrero. Ordonez. Nice pickup, but apparently juggled by Olerud, and Guerrero is safe.
Well, Ordonez lost his footing just as he was getting to the ball, and he tried to make a great play out of it, but the throw was in the dirt. Now watch, he gets to the ball, and right there you see his right foot slips from under him, and he throws while he's falling down. And if Olerud could have held on to it, he would have been out, but you can see that was a tough play for Olerud, and it should go as a base hit because he did lose his footing.
And that is the way they score it. An infield hit for Wilton Guerrero. Now, Vladimir Guerrero of the Expos, probably the most highly touted rookie to come into the majors this year in either league, but he hit a foul ball off his foot in the spring and fractured his foot, and so he'll miss, I guess, about the first month of the season and probably join the Expos around the beginning of May, or at least they're hoping so.
Plus, he's playing for a manager that seems to be able to get the best out of the young players. You know, Philippe Alou.
Well, they're talking about getting a new ballpark here for the Mets in New York, and some people are already campaigning for the name of it. Wilton Guerrero has just been picked off by Armando Reynoso.
Well, you see he's starting to move off, and he's moving away, and Reynoso just turns and throws. You're not supposed to be moving away as the pitcher is standing there holding the ball. You have to get your lead and kind of glide away when he's going into his stretch.
A rookie mistake. Reynoso has one of the best pickoff moves of any right-hander in the majors. 1 ball, 1 strike to Raul Mondesi, who twice has lined out to the third baseman in this game. Jackie Robinson Stadium, if the Mets get that new ballpark, has kind of a ring to it. We're not far from, they're still lobbying down there already. We're not far from the home of the U.S. Open tennis tournament, which the center court is now called Arthur Ashe Stadium. Ordonez, that's the way he wanted to make the last play. 2 men down. I want to remind you, coming up this Sunday night, we will be saying Mahalo Nui Loa from Honolulu, Hawaii. Brian Jordan and the St. Louis Cardinals will take on Ken Caminiti and the San Diego Padres. A home game in Hawaii for the Padres, the first Major League game ever to be played in Hawaii this weekend, and the first series this weekend. They'll actually play on Saturday, a doubleheader, and then we'll be there Sunday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, 2 Hawaiian. Mike Piazza, the hitter, 2 down, nobody on, no score in the 5th inning. And my advice to you, because the president said he wants to set a good example, is for the kids to do their homework before Sunday Night Baseball comes out, not during.
I don't know about you, John, but I was impressed with the president's knowledge of both legs there. Olerud being an American leaguer, now he's over here in the big leagues.
Knowing that he had been slumping last year and is hitting the ball much more successfully this year. Olerud came into the game tonight hitting .373, and he is 1 for 2 in this game. The president kind of taking over our job there.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to talk about how well he's done here in the National League, and
It's too late.
Yeah, if you look at the Mets averages, I mean, he's the only one hitting with any consistency.
Mets are hitting .213 as a team, but Olerud up around .380 individually. That is strike 3 called on the inside. Piazza called out on strikes for the 2nd consecutive time. Well, we're a half inning away from the big ceremonies coming up at Shea Stadium, and we are still scoreless. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute from Shea Stadium, New York. I'm John Miller along with Joe Morgan. Proud to be a part of the festivities here. The celebration of Jackie Robinson. George Will, and we know that this will be part of a special tribute that has already been put together by ESPN and will be shown here in the ballpark as well after the festivities here at the end of this half inning involving President Clinton and Rachel Robinson. Butch Huskies swinging strike 1 against Ismael Valdez. George Will, who is a baseball fan but also a historian and one of the great minds in America, pointing out that from a civil rights point of view, the emergence of Jackie Robinson under the big league baseball seemed perhaps the most significant aspect, the significant thing to happen in terms of civil rights in this country since the Civil War. So the significance of Jackie Robinson, what he did, certainly transcending merely Major League Baseball. 50 years ago today, he played his first regular season game, the first black man to break the so-called color barrier into Major League Baseball. Carlos Baerga, the hitter, after the single by Butch Husky. No score in this game. So please stay with us. The special ceremonies will be coming up at the end of this half inning. And I think you'll want to make sure that you're part of everything that goes on here tonight. In the city of New York, with the modern day descendants really of National League Baseball. The Dodgers and Giants were the 2 National League teams that used to play in New York. And then when they left for the West Coast, New York had only the Yankees, no National League representation. And people were really National League fans here too. The Yankees attendance actually went down the year after those 2 ball clubs left. I mean, Giants fans and Dodger fans did not immediately head over to Yankee Stadium. And then in 1962, with expansion, the New York Mets were born. And a lot of those old Dodger and Giant fans began coming at that time to the Polo Grounds, and then in 1964 to Shea Stadium. Jackie Robinson certainly had an effect on attendance back in that 1947 season. Wherever the Dodgers played that year as they traveled around the National League, big crowds followed. Runner going. Zeal can't handle it, and all hands are safe.
Well, it was a hit and run, and Baerga trying to hit the hole at shortstop, grounds it right at Todd Zeal at third. Zeal can't handle it. Actually, looked like it hits him off the left knee. Bounces away. Now he does a great thing here. He tries to fake a throw to first base, trying to get Husky to round the bag, but he doesn't do so. So Mets have runners at first and second. That is an error on third baseman Todd Zeal.
Talking about a flashback, that fake throw. He tried to do the same thing last October at Camden Yards in Baltimore against the New York Yankees, and the ball flew out of his hands. And Bernie Williams had the presence of mind to get up and score from third base. 1947. The Dodgers traveling around the National League, and look at that attendance for Dodger road games, more than 9,000 ahead of the attendance for all other ball games in all the other ballparks. About a 53-54% increase when the Dodgers were in all those other ballparks that year. So the Dodgers were an excellent ball club. They won the pennant that year, 1947. But certainly, perhaps they tapped an audience that wasn't going to Major League games at that time.
Yeah, Jackie should have had an attendance clause in his contract.
You know what his salary was that first year? You see the bunt by Ochoa going foul. Good hustle by Piazza, but he could not get there. Jackie Robinson, as a rookie 50 years ago, had a salary of $5,000. Should have had that attendance clause. Yeah. Mets with their first real scoring opportunity of this game. We're in the 5th inning. 2 men on, nobody out. Single by Husky, the error by Zeal. And Husky at second base, the first Met to get there. 1947 at Wrigley Field, 46,572. Still today, the largest single game paid attendance in Wrigley Field history to see Jackie Robinson and the Dodgers when they came to Chicago. I'd say there must have been a few standing room tickets sold that day. Two men on. It's Husky at second base. Baerga is at first base. Nobody out. But a 2-strike count to Ochoa, starting the year in a slump. Ordonez is on deck. Now to play again. Still 0-2 to Ochoa.
John, we've taken a look at, you know, Jackie Robinson, some of his statistics, and he won the most valuable player award in '49. But, you know, we don't really know how good a player he could have been because of all the pressure he played under, all the death threats, and all the things that he had to go through. We don't know. He may have been the greatest player ever. I mean, he may have hit for a higher average if he could have just gone to the ballpark, played, enjoyed the game, and, you know, just had an easy time of it. But with all the pressure he played under, I don't think we'll ever know how great a player he could have been.
Well, in 1946, and he played in Montreal in the minor leagues and won the batting championship. Right. And it's been said, just as you're saying now, to, under the circumstances, play at that high a level when he was a marked man. I mean, every pitcher wanted to get him out more than anybody else every time. With the racial epithets, the physical jeopardy that he was often put in. He was hit more all by himself than the rest of the league was hit by pitches when he came up with the Dodgers. For him to have won the batting championship in the International League that first year and then to, in the Rookie of the Year the next year, these are among the greatest accomplishments imaginable by any player. I mean, this is a hard game, a game of failure.
It's a very difficult game to play when you're having fun and when you're completely healthy. So it's twice as difficult when you're under the stress of off-the-field problems that you might face when you leave the stadium, problems you have even in your own clubhouse, not knowing which guy is going to stab you in the back, so to speak. Now, I don't mean that literally, but to say things behind your back or just to cause dissension in the clubhouse. So very difficult situation in which he played under, and he excelled.
And that breaking ball is down and away. And for Jackie Robinson, it wasn't just from the other teams, it was hostility from many of his own teammates. In a 5-year period, 1949 through 53, his average season featured a .329 average, 108 runs scored, 16 homers, 93 RBIs, and 23 steals. His on-base average for his career finished up over 400. Base hit for Ochoa. Held at third is Husky. And the bases are loaded for the Mets with nobody out. In that 5-year period we're talking about, Joe, his on-base average, in addition to that .329 batting average, his on-base average was .430. That's what I call a Morgan-like on-base average.
I tell you what, it's amazing to me that, again, that he did so much under the microscope that he was under. But again, I think sometimes that helped him. He was a type of guy, from what I've learned from talking to a lot of people, he was the type of guy that may have even made him work a little harder, push a little harder, you know, some of the things that he had to go through. But I don't think there's any doubt it's took its toll on him in the end.
Here is Ray Ordonez, bases loaded, nobody out. The Dodgers middle infield, double play depth in a scoreless game, 5th inning. Ordonez grounded into a double play his first time. Jackie Robinson in that 5-year period. Remember, he was 28 years old, as you were pointing out, Joe, before he ever got a chance to play in the big leagues. Some of his best years prime years, especially for a guy who's a great base runner and a great base stealer, were already behind him before he even got a shot. But in that 5-year period, which included an MVP season and numerous trips to the World Series for the Dodgers, Jackie Robinson stole more bases than anybody else as well, in addition to everything else, in an era when teams did not want to steal. And Wee Reese, who was on with us earlier via satellite, pointed out that if Jackie Robinson played today with the emphasis, the renewed emphasis on stealing that we've seen these last 20, 30 years in baseball, he feels that he was well capable of stealing 100 bases a year. 1 strike to Ordonez. Wow. A little over anxious, perhaps.
You know, I've been told by players who played against him and with him, as we take a look at Ordonez swing at this breaking ball that never comes down. But I've been told by players who played with him and against him that he was the most disruptive base runner in the history of the game. I mean, he would intimidate the infielders, he intimidated the pitchers, he intimidated everyone when he got on base.
2 strikes, bases loaded, nobody out. Well, Ordonez did not swing at that one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Nice save by Piazza with the bases loaded. The pitcher spot due up next, but Matt Franco has come out on deck to apparently act as a pinch hitter. Well, we saw that with that steal of home that we showed a little bit earlier. Stole it against Whitey Ford, of all people. Fouled away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Is Husky at third base, Baerga at second, and Ochoa at first base. Nobody out in a scoreless game. I like the story that Wee Reese told about. He slid into second base well ahead of the throw, and the throw came in belatedly. And still the guy took the throw and slapped a hard tag right into his face, which happened a lot. And Jackie Robinson did not retaliate
for 2 years.
For the first 2 years, yeah. Right back to Valdez. Here's 1. Piazza to first. 2. A 1 to 2 to 3 double play. Just what they wanted.
Well, it's a great play by the pitcher, Valdez. Now watch how quickly he gets the ball to home plate. No hesitation and a good throw. Right there for Piazza to turn and get rid of it before Husky comes in from third and is able to knock Piazza off balance. Just a great play by the pitcher. You have to have a starting point, and the pitcher made a good play on that play.
Baerga took third. Ochoa took second on the play. And Valdez talking to pitching coach Dave Wallace out there now. Still scoreless. The Mets with a great opportunity, but Ordonez hits into his 2nd consecutive double play. Coming up this Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and again at 4 Eastern, it's the PGA of America Senior Championship presented by Advil. Defending champion Hale Irwin leads the field. That's the Senior Championship Thursday at 12 noon, and then again at 4 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Bobby Valentine. I think that was kind of a rueful smile there, because that's the way things have been going for the Mets. Everything has gone wrong for them, and they just cannot get that big hit. So here is Matt Franco to try and get it. Pinch hitting for Reynoso, making his first start back from the disabled list, but also I think being lifted in this spot because of the festivities we've got coming up. I think both managers kind of in the back of their minds were thinking 5 innings would be it. And with the delay in the ball game with the ceremonies, they'd come back with a different pitcher. Runners at second and third, 2 down. The Mets just opened up at home after a West Coast road trip on Sunday with the Giants in town and got swept in a doubleheader. Then the Giants beat them again here last night, so they have not yet even won a home game. 2-1. Leadoff man Lance Johnson is on deck. Stay tuned now, because following this inning, we'll have the special ceremonies here involving President Clinton, Rachel Robinson, among others, here at Shea Stadium. And we'll have full coverage of that on ESPN. Todd Hundley looks kind of relaxed over there, Joe.
Well, if you squat down as much as a catcher does, you got to find another way to relax. You don't want to sit down over there in the dugout, and that's his way of relaxing. Probably stretching his legs a little bit and his back.
And the count goes to 3-2. Well, bouncing off of Piazza's glove. Baerga holding at third base. And Ochoa over at second base. Both ready to go in anything with 2 down. Scoreless here in New York. Not an unusual game for these two teams to be playing this year. When they played in Los Angeles last week, they played 3 consecutive real tight, low-scoring games like this. One of them went 15 innings and one went 14 innings. And unfortunately for the Mets, the Dodgers won both of those long games. Long, low-scoring games. Neither team has hit well yet. The Dodgers hitting only .239 for the season, and that's even though they broke loose in Pittsburgh this week, and they scored 14 runs in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Despite that, they're hitting only .239. Matt Franco trying to deliver in the clutch for the Mets. Well, he gets the walk.
Well, Valdez made up his mind he wasn't going to throw him anything but changeups. He was not going to give in and throw a fastball or even a curveball. He threw him just a steady diet of changeups.
I'm not sure the advisability of
doing that and getting to Lance Johnson, who led the league in hits last year.
227 hits for Lance Johnson a year ago. And Franco, an unproven rookie who just recently was brought up by the Mets. Up the middle. And that is a run, and here comes Ochoa to make it 2. Great hustle and a heads-up base running. Jackie Robinson led base running by Alex Ochoa, who ran hard all the way and scored from second on a ball that never left the infield. 2-0 New York.
Almost a great play here by Guerrero. He goes behind the bag. He tries to backhand it, but he doesn't get it cleanly. Now watch, he gets there, but he can't come up with it because he would have had a play at second base, but he couldn't come up with it. He overruns it, and as you watch Ochoa, he never slows down. He just keeps going, and nothing that Guerrero could do because he had run past the ball.
Well, I love that last shot. Olerud takes a strike because you saw where Ochoa was already when the ball got to the glove of Guerrero. I mean, he was almost already at third. So I mean, he just ran full out at the crack of the bat. So 2-0 New York. Olerud. Nice pickup by Gagne. He has no play, but coming around third and getting himself hung up, the rookie Franco. He just put his head down and came roaring around third base. So moments after the outstanding base running of Ochoa, Matt Franco runs them right out of the inning with one of their biggest hitters, but Art Gilkey coming up. And so it goes for the Mets here in early 1997. 2-0 Mets. Now stay tuned. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute celebration is about to heat up here at Shea Stadium. We'll be back with the ceremonies. Stay with us. Mets 2, Dodgers nothing after 5 innings at Shea Stadium. And now on this 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's breaking what was called the color barrier, the first African-American ever to be allowed to play in the big leagues. And we started our telecast with this special tribute, and we think it's fitting now as we get ready for the festivities.
Someday right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
I tell you folks, that video pretty much says it all. Hello again, everyone. I'm Robin Roberts. It is hard to believe that 50 years ago, many sports writers barely mentioned Jackie Robinson's debut in their stories. And now, a half a century later, thousands of fans, including the President of the United States, traveled tonight here to Shea Stadium on Jackie Robinson Parkway to honor the man who changed the complexion of the game and of this country forever. Now, a special ceremony is about to take place on the field involving President Clinton and the always gracious Rachel Robinson, Jackie's widow. He was always Jack to her. Also during the celebration, ESPN will pay a tribute to Jackie Robinson. We talked to many of today's stars, like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. So many historic parallels have been made between what Tiger accomplished 2 days ago, becoming the first man of color to win a major golf tournament, and what Robinson did, which was blaze the trail for all to follow, not just athletes, not just blacks, but all people. It was thought to be an impossible dream, blacks playing the major leagues, but it came true because of Jackie Robinson. We're about to begin the ceremony with recording artist Tevin Campbell singing The Impossible Dream. We are just a few moments away from this special tribute to Jackie Robinson. 50 years ago tonight, April 15th, 1947, Ebbets Field, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, becoming the first African-American ever to play in the major leagues. Not many came out that cold April night 50 years ago, but that's a different story half a century later. The crowd anticipating the ceremony that again will involve President Clinton and Rachel Robinson, among others.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome West recording artist Tevin Campbell for a special musical tribute to Jackie Robinson.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable fall, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest to follow that star, no matter how hopeless and no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, then my heart will be peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. Oh, when I'm laid to my rest. Oh, when I'm laid, and the world will be better for them. Yeah, yeah. That one man scorned and covered with scars, still strong with his last ounce of courage. Oh, to reach the unreachable
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Rachel Robinson, and Bud Selig.
President, Mrs. Robinson, ladies and gentlemen, throughout its long history, Major League Baseball has operated under the premise that no single person is bigger than the game. No single person other than Jackie Robinson. In his life and in the remarkable legacy he left for all Americans, Jackie Robinson was and remains bigger than the game. Jackie's entry into Major League Baseball 50 years ago today will forever remain baseball's proudest moment. This evening, we are paying tribute to Jackie for his great achievements and the significant contributions he made to society, all of which helped make our country a better place. In honor of Jackie, Major League Baseball is taking the unprecedented step of retiring his uniform number, number 42, in perpetuity. Those players who currently wear 42, including those like Butch Husky of the Mets and Mo Vaughn of the Boston Red Sox, who wear the number in tribute to Jackie, may continue to wear the number for the remainder of their careers. However, number 42 from this day forward will never again be issued by a major league club. Number 42 belongs to Jackie Robinson for the ages. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now direct your attention to the left field wall for a special unveiling. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the President of the United States, Bill Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Robinson, members of the Robinson family, it is hard to believe that it was 50 years ago at Ebbets Field that a 28-year-old rookie changed the face of baseball and the face of America forever. Jackie Robinson scored the go-ahead run that day, and we've all been trying to catch up ever since. Today, I think every American should say a special word of thanks to Jackie Robinson and to Branch Rickey and to the members of the Dodger team who made him one of their own and proved that America is a better, stronger, richer country when we all work together and give everyone a chance. And today, I think we should remember that Jackie Robinson's legacy did not end with baseball, for afterward, he spent the rest of his life trying to open other doors and keep them open for all kinds of people. He knew that education, not sports, was the key to success in life for nearly everyone. And he took that message to young people wherever he went. I congratulate Rachel Robinson for continuing that mission through the work of the Jackie Robinson Foundation, which has given hundreds of young people a chance to build the life of their dreams. I can't help thinking that if Jackie Robinson were here with us tonight, he would say that we have done a lot of good in the last 50 years, but we can do better. We have achieved equality on the playing field, but we need to establish equality in the boardrooms of baseball and throughout corporate America. And we need to make sure that even as we celebrate his brilliant successor, Tiger Woods' victory in the Masters, we need even more of our young people from all walks of life to get their master's degrees and help to make more of their lives in this country. And he would remind us, look around this stadium tonight, that as we sit side by side at baseball games, we must make sure that we walk out of these stadiums together. We must stand for something more magnificent even than a Grand Slam home run. We ought to have a Grand Slam society, a good society, where all of us have a chance to work together for a better tomorrow for our children. Let that be the true legacy of Jackie Robinson's wonderful, remarkable career and life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Rachel Robinson.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Robinson family, the Jackie Robinson Foundation, Major League Baseball, and all of our constituents, we wish to express our deep appreciation to you tonight for your presence and for the leadership that you are giving to us in crucial aspects of this celebration. This anniversary has given us an opportunity as a nation to celebrate together the triumphs of the past and the social progress that has occurred. It has also given us an opportunity to reassess the challenges of the present. It is my passionate hope that we can take this reawakened feeling of unity and use it as a driving force so that each of us can recommit to equality of opportunity for all Americans. I believe the greatest... Thank you. The greatest tribute that we can pay to Jackie Robinson is to gain new support for a more equitable society. And in this heady environment of unity, it is my hope that we can carry this living legacy beyond this glorious moment. This is a great moment for all of us. Thank you.
This continues to be a night to remember. As President Clinton stated earlier, it's a night where you set your worries and concerns aside and just feel good about living in this country. The always elegant and gracious Rachel Robinson, her beauty is timeless. We here at ESPN would also like to pay tribute to Jackie Robinson, an American hero. But what better way to do that than through the voices of all who have benefited from his vision and from his courage, what Jackie Robinson did 50 years ago tonight at Ebbets Field.
Baseball was as American as apple pie. It was an institution, and it was lily white. And for Jackie Robinson to break that barrier, it said that other barriers could fall. It said that little white kids could look up to a black man as a hero. That didn't exist before that. Jackie was responsible for that.
The Dodgers put him on the roster Tuesday morning, April 15th, and I was up in the bleacher seats, 50 cents. Got there real early in the morning. I still can see him running out on the field. Jackie was a very dark black man, and the Dodgers still have the whitest uniforms in the world, and that clash of the white and the black and the crowd and the appreciation for him that day was incredible.
You have to remember, blacks were insecure. We were nervous when Jackie went out in that field. Would he fail? And if he fails, my God, what does it mean for the rest of us?
We needed Jackie Robinson to break the barrier, and we needed him to not walk away, to not give up. Though he had to ride on the back of the bus, though he had to stay in the colored rooming houses, and he couldn't stay in the main hotel, though we could feel his pain. Even as children, we could feel his pain, and yet he turned pain into power.
You say that we've come so far that people can even think of a black person for president. Back in those days, we couldn't even think of a black person as an airline pilot or even driving a bus.
Certainly, if Jackie Robinson had not broken the color barrier in baseball, there's no question but that I would not be in the United States Senate, and the ground would not have been laid for women to move into public life.
Baseball is the most difficult game to play. And Jackie Robinson played it under the most difficult circumstances because his coming to the major leagues was the most important event in the emancipation of African Americans since the Civil War.
If it had not been for him, I think our whole movement would have been set back 20 or 30 years.
It was something that I would not have been able to do. I would have to speak out. I was never able to march and sing and kneel and pray. And Jackie was the same kind of individual, but he knew he had to do it, so he did it.
I know during the time that he was playing, he was calling nigga on the field. He was getting letters that was threatening his life. I mean, he was exposed to have his life eliminated.
When you look at what we deal with today and what Jackie Robinson dealt with when he made the breakthrough, could some of the athletes today deal with what he dealt with? I don't know. I think if we knew what was at stake, it's a possibility we would try. But in terms of doing, he did it.
If it wasn't for his heart, courage, and determination, none of this would be possible for not only African Americans, but everyone else.
I've always said, whatever success I've had in professional baseball is simply because Jackie Robinson paved the way for me to get where I am today.
As I walked up the 18th fairway, a lot of emotions ran through me at Augusta, and I think he was one of them. He was definitely one of them, because if it wasn't for him pioneering in baseball, Charlie Sifford and Lee Elder and other black pros in golf wouldn't have had the opportunity or wouldn't have even thought of pursuing golf, just because Jackie was their role model. And because of that, Jackie's my role model.
Jackie, he's the greatest of all time. I know I say I was, but really, truthfully, he was the greatest of all time, of all times to come.
Butch Husky wearing number 42. As Bud Selig announced, no other player coming into the major leagues will ever be able to wear Jackie Robinson's number 42 after this year. Back with baseball, Mets and Dodgers. Mets leading. With him.
You know, he really wasn't able to talk as much as you'd liked him to, and everyone wanted to be near him, wanted to be around him. You know, I felt very special just being near him. He threw out a ball in Oakland, and then, of course, he walked on the field in Cincinnati. And at the time, he was, you know, losing his eyesight. But you got chills and goosebumps when you were near him because you knew what he meant to the game, to America, and especially to you if you were black.
You certainly did understand. You also, for a time, denied service because of the color of your skin when you played ball.
You know, I've been through the South, and back in the 60s when I played there were places you couldn't eat. I was very fortunate to play with a manager by the name of Johnny McNamara who would not let the team eat if I couldn't eat. So many times we had to eat on the bus, places we couldn't stay, and if I couldn't stay there, then the team didn't stay there. But I knew what it felt like.
You are fully aware of the legacy of Jackie Robinson, and a lot of today's players have been criticized for not knowing about his importance. What do you say about that?
I think it's partly our fault, Robin. I mean, I see we bring a lot of attention to the game tonight. We bring a lot of attention to ourselves by getting pats on the back. But why can't we continue to remind people? Why can't baseball continue to remind and pay homage and respect to this great man? And so it's not so much Frank Thomas or Ken Griffey's fault. Those guys have a job to do on the field. It's our job to continue to remind them, and hopefully tonight won't be the end of that. It'll continue.
Tributes are wonderful, patches are wonderful, but you have to keep the movement going. Thank you, Reggie, very much. Let's play some ball. Go back up to John Miller. John?
Thanks, Robin. And with Joe Morgan, we are about to play some ball here at Shea Stadium, and Toby Borland has taken the mound for the New York Mets, who are leading the ball game 2-0 on this, the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute celebration. There is Borland, the former Philly, taking his warm-ups. Joe, a big roar from the crowd, an emotional moment as Bud Selig kind of surprised us all, announcing that baseball was retiring Jackie Robinson's number 42 in perpetuity.
Well, I thought it was a great ceremony. I thought the president spoke eloquently and talked about race relation, talked about what Jackie has meant to this country, and I thought that was great. I have to say that is a great tribute to retire that number forever, and I commend baseball for taking that step. The two players who are presently wearing it, I guess Butch Husky and Mo Vaughn, both who are wearing 42, can wear it till the end of their careers, but I think they were wearing that jersey in honor of Jackie Robinson. And I would like to think that maybe now that that number is retired, that they would change numbers and put that number into retirement permanently, because they did it as a tribute, and I think that would be another tribute to Jackie Robinson, to be able to take that uniform and that number and retire it forever.
Indeed. They also here at Shea Stadium, and I'm guessing we'll see this around baseball in all the ballparks where they do post the retired numbers of their former stars, that they will post that on the, or in the same manner that they post the retired numbers of their former stars. Here at Shea Stadium, they have the retired numbers of the likes of Casey Stengel, the first Mets manager, also Gil Hodges and Tom Seaver, the great right-hander of the Mets, and now number 42, although not a former Met, but Jackie Robinson, whose number has been retired throughout all of baseball. Well, we're underway again here with the Dodgers coming up. Eric Karras is the hitter against Toby Borland. The Dodgers are trailing 2-0 here as we resume action. The Mets with 2 runs and 6 hits. The Dodgers no runs and 6 hits with 1 big error, which helped the Mets score their 2 unearned runs in the 5th inning. Ray Ordonez throws out Karras, who is now 0 for 3 in this game.
Left fielder Todd Hollinsworth.
And that will bring up Todd Hollinsworth, the Dodgers left fielder. The starting pitcher for the Mets, Armando Reynoso, in 5 shutout innings, and he's picked up now by Toby Borland. Toby Borland out of the Mets bullpen, and this has been a real problem area for the Mets this year. The bullpen has been real shaky. Well, this is a big night. We are here covering the ball game, Joe, of course, but also it's a much bigger night, more significant night on this tribute to Jackie Robinson night. And Bud Selig, we were just talking about, the acting baseball commissioner, and he has now joined us in the booth. Welcome, Bud.
Nice to be here, John, Joe, and good to see both of you.
Hi, thank you.
Congratulations.
Glad you're back. Glad you're back doing baseball again. You've enriched my life the last couple of weeks already.
Well, you enriched my life and a lot of other baseball fans by retiring Jackie Robinson's number. I think that is a great tribute, and baseball is to be commended for doing that.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. I said at the press conference here in February, and I've thought a lot about it since then. I think you'll really appreciate this.
That's a foul ball, by the way. No play.
It's the proud. If you think back to what it meant, and it's hard to remember. I remember because I saw his first game in Chicago's Wrigley Field, but it is the proudest moment in baseball history. And there have been a lot of proud moments. But there's something, and the more I've thought about it, Len Coleman and I got in a long conversation about it on Sunday, and the more you talk about it, and so this came easy. I mean, this is the least we can do. We need to do a lot more. This is a celebration, but it should be a celebration, frankly, of our doing all the things we can to honor something that's so remarkable in retrospect. I don't know how he did it. I mean, I have that much admiration for him.
I think that's the point. You know, it's even more important when you look back on it than it was while it was happening.
Well, Joe, think to something in that when Branch Rickey signed him in '45. I mean, when he went to Montreal, and then when he came up, I mean, he was the precursor of all civil rights movements, everything else. I mean, he did it at a time where it just wasn't being done, and he took so much abuse, and I've talked to so many people who played with him and against him, and yet, I mean, what he did, even coming to the big leagues at 28, and you think, I mean, all the years, unfortunately, that were wasted there, but he was a pathfinder with courage that's hard to really even understand.
Right, good point.
2 down after the strikeout of Hollingsworth, and Todd Zeile is the hitter now. Oh, Bud, you're talking about doing the retiring of the number, but doing much more. And for instance, some ideas on that.
Well, let me say, you know, we've come a long way in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of total hiring and things. But look, there's no sense in attempting to fool anybody. We need to do better in managers and general managers and executive positions. People will say, well, you people have done so much better than the typical Fortune 500 company.
That's a base hit for Todd Zeile, and he'll be held to a single. Go ahead, Bud.
And maybe we have, but in my judgment, baseball has a responsibility to do a lot more. Jackie Robinson was ours. Sports have a chance to play a really dramatic role, and if we don't do it, it's sad and it's wrong. And so I think I can say to both of you tonight that you'll be pleased at what you see in the next 6 to 12 months. I mean, we're going to do some things, and we're going to go club by club, and I think everybody in baseball understands, and we ought to be honored to do that. This isn't a question of forcing people to do something they don't want to. This is doing something that we should do, and if we're really going to have a Jackie Robinson celebration and honor that as we did tonight in this absolutely magnificent evening, we need to do it now indeed, club by club.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not one to defend or really try to criticize as much about baseball, but I will tell you this. Baseball has gone through a tough period. There were times, you know, you've been putting out fires, and sometimes it's very difficult to put out fires and try to go forward. So now that we've gotten all the other problems behind us, I think it is time to go forward, and I think this opportunity is there for the taking, and I'm glad to hear that you're going to make that movement, because again, we can criticize or whatever, but baseball has had a lot of problems, and you've had to take care of those things first. Now that they're out of the way, we should be able to go forward.
Joe, you're absolutely right. I mean, I just can't disagree with that at all. And again, we move forward. I think people are happy about it. I know we've already talked to a lot of clubs, and I think people understand. I mean, we need to have, for instance, somebody asked me tonight.
And Baerga saves that play, and that ends the inning.
Somebody asked me tonight whether or not, you know, we're going to put pressure. It isn't a question. We need to have the pipeline, have people in it, so that when managerial positions open and general manager and other executive positions come, we have a flow of talent coming, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, here's hoping that that's the way it works out is a great legacy of this night. Bud Selig, thanks for being with us.
Enjoyed it. Good luck, guys. Thank
Rachel Robinson when we get back. From Shea Stadium in New York, John Miller, Joe Morgan with you. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute celebration, and we added celebration at the suggestion, at the request of Mrs. Rachel Robinson, and indeed it has been a great celebration.
It has been a wonderful celebration. Most exciting thing that's happened to me in years, if ever. Oh.
Now, did you have any inside information about the retiring of number 42 in perpetuity?
No, that's a complete surprise, and I'm pleased about it. I'm happy that we have two people who've gotten in under the cutoff, you know, because I think it's important for the younger generation to be able to use that as a means of expression of their respect for Jack. And
well,
so
I think that there's no doubt, and you and myself have talked to Mo Vaughn on several occasions. We know the respect he has in Butch Husky. I actually said, and I really believe this, Rachel, that, you know.
That's into right center off the bat of Gilkey, but caught out there by Mondesi.
Well, they wear the number, you know, to honor Jackie Robinson. And my opinion is, I don't think there could be a better honor they could give him than to go ahead and retire that number and let it be retired. They wore it to honor him, and they've done that, and I think this would be even a greater honor. I wish I had that number that I could give away and give back, because I think that this is, to me, this is the highlight of the evening for me.
Yes, it's a wonderful tribute, and we're very appreciative of Major League Baseball's efforts all around. I spent last weekend at the Dodger Stadium, and not only did we have a wonderful celebration, but the players gave us a very nice contribution to the foundation. And people ask me all the time, as you know, what do the players do?
Right.
And this was wonderful.
Well, I know how you appreciate when the players do make their feelings known about Jackie.
Well, and this, the anniversary, the reason for the celebration.
Yes.
Jackie Robinson's first game 50 years ago. You were in attendance that day.
Yes.
And I know you wrote about it in the
I have written about it, yes.
Excellent book that came out, Jackie Robinson, An Intimate Portrait, which everyone, I think, should go down and find at their nearest bookstore.
Yes, I agree with you. Totally.
You were there that day, an historic day.
Yes.
And you were there with a child.
With a baby, yes.
A baby.
Yes, Jackie Jr. And if I have to describe that whole day again, I'll break out in hives.
You know, I read where, you know, you attended every home game, and,
yes,
and
I
in
did.
your own way, you felt like you were deflecting some of the, you know, tension away from Jackie.
Yeah, I tried. I did. By sharing it, you know. I think if you can share an emotion, and particularly a powerful emotion, like frustration and anger and upset, that somehow it helps. It does help.
Now, we don't want you to have to go back and describe that day again.
No.
We're not going to, we don't want...
you don't want to hear it.
We don't want any hives or anything like that. But now 50 years later, this anniversary and this celebration tonight, and we are interested in your feelings and all the emotions that maybe you felt here tonight.
Just in anticipation of coming here and having the opportunity to have the president here with us was a very exciting emotion, and also one that was very gratifying, because somebody's giving the leadership to the things we're concerned about going forward. And I think his presence here tonight signified the fact that he does care about the things we are interested in and concerned about.
Well, you know, there were a lot of people who know about Jackie Robinson's contribution to baseball, et cetera, but his off-the-field activities, and Jackie's main concern was education.
Absolutely.
And you started the foundation because of that.
If our young people do not get educated, they have no chance in life. They can't be productive citizens. They can't give back. They can't even enrich their own lives with their families' lives. So that's been our mission, and our foundation, I'm happy to say, is doing very well. We have a 92% graduation rate. I was happy that they announced that, because that's our big number. And
well, that's incredible.
Yes, it is. It's the highest in the country.
92%.
92% of our young people, the foundation has supported over these years, 500 of them, on very large scholarships. They get $20,000 a year, $20,000 a scholarship. Mercy. 92% of them have graduated, and from fine universities. Very well.
Well, and it comes from certainly a very wonderful woman who knows about education. You got your bachelor's degree from UCLA, your master's degree in psychiatric nursing from NYU.
Yes, that's right.
You were an assistant professor at the Yale School of Nursing.
I was, yes. Yeah.
So
I cherish education. I couldn't make a move without it.
So the Jackie Robinson, as by the way, Butch Husky goes down on strikes to end the inning. Still 2-0 for the Mets here. Mrs. Rachel Robinson is here with us. And as long as we're talking about education, the Jackie Robinson Foundation, I mean, you met Jackie Robinson.
At UCLA,
at
yes.
UCLA?
Yes, I was a freshman and he was a senior. He was a big man on campus, and I was the new arrival. So it was wonderful to meet him there and to meet him at that time in his life.
What, was he a student? I mean, was he
Yes,
a good
he was
student?
a student. He was, well, now wait a minute. Let's don't carry this too far. He was not a scholar, but he was a student.
And I find that interesting because you were really not so baseball fan or whatever. You were into the opera and all these other things, you know. How did he win you over?
Oh, with that smile and those pigeon toes. No, he carried himself with such dignity and such confidence for a young person that he was extremely, extremely attractive to me. And the way he related to us with a lot of confidence, but no arrogance. I think arrogance is probably the most unattractive trait people have, and I think it's a sign of weakness, really. So, I mean, for him to be very humble and yet to be proud was very attractive.
I've also read where you were talking about, you know, most people see the rough exterior of Jackie, and you talked about how soft and how good a husband he was.
Yes, the public persona is one of the aggressive player who comes down the line and, you know, will eat you alive. But we knew him, a different side of him. We knew the father and the husband who had a great capacity for love and tenderness and caring about other people. And that's the side of him. That's the reason I wrote the book. I wanted that side of him to be known because it was equally powerful as that public side that people do know.
Well, the quote that we see so often associated with Jackie Robinson, a life is not important except in
its impact on the lives of others.
You know that.
I do happen to know
that phrase, yeah. But that's something that he
lived
obviously
by
believed in.
He absolutely lived by it from morning to night and for his entire life. And we have, as a family, have assumed that as sort of our code for even the grandchildren. I have 11 of them.
11?
And, yes. And even the youngest are being taught and brought up in that tradition, and I'm excited about that. That's one of the exciting things about our Jackie Robinson Scholars. Every one of them, by their freshman year, has a give-back project, a community service project. And every year we give an award for the most innovative project. We call it the Spike Lee Award.
Okay.
And we're excited about that, developing character as well as developing their intellect.
You know, and speaking of Spike Lee, I know a couple of years ago when I talked to him, he was trying to put together a Jackie Robinson movie. Where are we with that?
It's on hold. What do they call it? They have a word for it, you know. But I will not give up on that project.
Okay.
That is a timeless story, needs to be done, and will be done at some point in time. I hope in my lifetime.
If there was one, what do you think, or what do you expect to be the biggest thing to come out of this? I mean, a lot of times we talk about the young players not being familiar with Jackie.
Right.
Do you know how we can pass this along to them, his legacy, and to know what Jackie Robinson did for them?
I think this celebration and the success of it and the momentum that we've gotten has reawakened some people and some who never really gave much thought to Jackie Robinson, the legacy, or the times. My hope is that we will be able to sustain that and get people to say to themselves, what am I doing?
Right.
Why am I not doing more? You know, where can I help? You know, in other words, to get that spirit active and to honor him with our deeds, not just with our words.
We have been discussing Jackie Robinson tonight all through the ball game.
Yes.
Occasionally, we've even referred to the game itself. But
I've lost my scorecard anyway.
That really hasn't been the point for us tonight.
No, it has not.
And this is truly the high point of our telecast, having you here with us.
Oh, thank you so much.
One of the things we did do, and we will do later on, is my partner here, Joe Morgan, with his great knowledge of baseball. We've watched some old film clips, for instance, Jackie Robinson stealing home against the Yankees, famous play. Joe kind of analyzed it. We looked at it in slow motion.
And he was safe.
He was safe.
He was safe.
Yogi and I have that argument to this very day.
Same with me. I argue with him every time I see him, but he was safe.
Now, part of the whole thing is Joe getting into Jackie Robinson, the ball player, to kind of contemporize him, for people really, in a contemporary sense, see what kind of a ball player he was. When you met him, big man on campus, as you say, UCLA, I mean, he was a four-sport man.
Yes. Yeah.
And they say baseball was the
minor
least
sport.
of his sports.
Right. Baseball was a minor sport in university then. I mean, it was football and basketball.
So when you met him and for the Jackie Robinson that we know now to become this breakthrough ball player and all of the things we associate with him as a baseball player, that had to be some real remote idea that never really came up in 1941.
No, I'll tell you the truth about the matter. We were planning to get married. We were engaged. After 5 years, we were going to get married, and when I finished college, and Jack was looking for a job at the time the Dodgers scouted him. He needed a position, and there was nothing open to him in professional sports where he obviously excelled, and that would have been his career. That should have been his career. So he had very limited options when this happened, and he played a year in the Negro Leagues. He loved the camaraderie with the fellas. He hated the way they had to live. He felt humiliated and degraded by it. But so that there was just, it was a time when he was sort of in sort of hiatus. He really needed something to go to. And when this opportunity came, obviously he took it.
Well, and we're glad he did.
Yeah, we're glad he did.
Yeah. Now, Jackie Robinson, An Intimate Portrait. I want to mention the book again.
Yes, published by Harry Abrams Company.
Right. And we don't usually do this, but I think
yes, I know. Thank you.
It's part of what we're talking about here tonight.
Yes.
And also the Jackie Robinson Foundation.
And the foundation, and Arnold Rampersad, the distinguished professor at Princeton, is writing Jack's biography, and that will be coming out on Father's Day of this year. And that's published by Knopf. You know, I have to get in all my plugs.
Right.
But I think it's a year of illuminating the life of the man. And so those books are important, film clips are important, documentaries are important. What you've done has been marvelous here. So I think these things are the way we're going to educate our young people.
You know, the end of the inning.
Where's that phone number one more time, if we have it? For more information on the 212-290-8600.
That's
for more
our phone
information.
number. That's right.
Mrs. Rachel Robinson, it was a great pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much.
We'll be back. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute from Shea Stadium, New York. And in the ball game, we're heading to the last of the seventh inning. The Mets are leading the Dodgers 2-0. John Miller with Joe Morgan, and our special thank yous out to Mrs. Rachel Robinson. A real highlight of the telecast, having her here with us. Life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Coming up later tonight, an encore presentation of ESPN's critically acclaimed Outside the Lines on the legacy of Jackie Robinson. 12:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Pacific. And we hope you'll be able to stay tuned for that later on. The 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's first game in the major leagues.
Now pitching number 36.
Here we go to the last of the seventh inning. The Mets are leading the Dodgers 2-0, and Carlos Baerga will come up against a new Dodger pitcher, Scott Radinsky, a left-hander. When we were talking with Mrs. Robinson, Chip Hale pinch hit for Chan Ho Park. So now Radinsky takes over. That's a broken bat. The bat ends up at the feet of Zeal. The ball ends up down the left field line, and Baerga ends up at second base with a double.
Well, all you ever want of your bats is for it to die like a soldier, a good soldier. He breaks a bat and he gets a base hit. You can get another bat, but every base hit counts. He lines it down the left field line, and you can see the bat chasing Todd Zeal. And he finally avoids it, but it's a double for Baerga leading off here in the seventh inning.
And there is Manny Alexander, who goes in to run for Baerga at second base. And then he'll stay on to play second base. Carlos Baerga getting his first extra base hit of the season. He has really been stuck in a slump. His 40th at bat and his first extra base hit. Hit the ball real hard a couple of times last night and has swung the bat fairly well tonight as well. Now here is Ochoa, who made the base running play of the game, scoring from second base on an infield hit in the fifth inning. And he is 2 for 2 in this game after also getting off to a terribly slow start this year. 2-0 for the Mets.
John, if you look at the entire Mets lineup, Bernard Gilkey, Todd Hundley, their two big guns last year, came into the ball game both hitting under 200. In fact, they have 6 hitters, 5 hitters in a row there hitting under 200.
There's the bunt. That will get the job done. And more. Zeal couldn't handle it. It might not have made any difference if he had been able to, because Ochoa runs real well, and they'll score it as a base hit.
Very smart play that by Ochoa. He wanted to hit the ball to right field in his on the first pitch, but Badinsky came way in, fastball in, so he took it. Now he decides, well, I better make sure I get him over. And you see the ball is inside again, so he drops it down for a bunt. And Todd Zeal tried to barehand it. I actually think Todd was fooled. I don't think he expected Ochoa to bunt, and he was playing maybe a little too deep, but a good play there by Ochoa.
First and third, nobody out for the Mets, and the Dodgers bring the infield in as Ordonez comes up. The second baseman Guerrero not in all the way. 2-0 for the Mets in the last of the 7th inning. A chance to get more here. And that will be more. Alexander makes it 3-0 for the Mets. Ochoa stopping at second.
It's a fastball out over the plate, and good job of going the other way. Left-hander's ball naturally tails away from right-hander, and that's the proper way to handle it. Ball moving away, goes to right field, drives in the run. And the Mets now have a 3-0 lead.
First and second, nobody out. Bill Russell. And he knew that there would be days like this when he took over for Tommy Lasorda. 3-0 for the Mets. And with the run already home and nobody out, Borland will bat for himself. That will get the job done. Piazza throws him out. The runners advance. Suddenly the Mets, who couldn't do anything right the first 2 weeks of the season, now doing everything just perfectly. Now Lance Johnson coming up.
Lance Johnson drove in the first 2 runs of the ball game. He grounds a single up the middle, and Guerrero knocks it down behind second base, not able to make a play. And the good base running play John mentioned by Ochoa, he scored from second base on the infield single.
So Johnson is 1 for 3 with those 2 RBIs, and a chance now to really open this ball game up. The infield has moved in for the Dodgers, and there is ball 1 from Radinsky to Johnson. Ochoa at third, Ordonez at second. You see how they play it on the infield. The outfield is also pushed way over toward the left field line against Johnson. This is one of those turnaround type moments in a ball game. The Mets have a chance here to just bust it wide open late in the game. The Dodgers already down by 3, trying to stay within striking distance here.
And the Mets have everything in their favor. The Dodgers are playing the infield in.
Up the middle, through the drawn-in infield. It's going to be a 2-run single. 5-0 for the Mets.
And of course, that's the danger you have when you play the infield in. Not a lot of range for your infielders. And that ball was not hit that sharply, and with the infield back, it would not have gone through. But you have to play the infield in. You can't afford to give up any more runs, yet they end up giving up 2. So good job by Lance Johnson. He has now driven in 4 runs for the Mets tonight. You see the infield is drawn in. This ball is not hit sharply, and if the infield was back, they probably would have been able to make a play. But good hitting there by Johnson. I think when the infield is in, you should try to hit the ball back through the middle.
Well, Johnson had 3 RBIs for the season, and now he's got 4 tonight. That's a pretty good night. And Johnson is also a threat to steal. We've been watching some of those old clips of Jackie Robinson stealing home. So I want to see him steal, Joe. I'm into that stolen base mood right now.
I hear you.
Johnson stole 50 bases last year. Of course, on the other hand, it's 5-0 now. Maybe they feel like that would not be the right time to provoke the Dodgers by stealing a base. What do you think?
Well, actually, when they were in Los Angeles, that happened. The Dodgers were not happy. They stole a base when they were way ahead. So we'll see what happens.
There's Bobby Valentine, the Mets manager.
I said the Dodgers meant the Mets stole a base when they were ahead. And the Dodgers were not happy.
Bill Russell got a little upset about it. 5-0 for the Mets. 3 runs home here in the 7th against Radinsky. Olerud, the hitter, he is 2 for 3. Right back to Radinsky. There's one. Gagne still gets the double play despite the poor throw by Radinsky. We'll have much, much more about Jackie Robinson. Many great clips of Jackie Robinson. Many other things still to come. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute from Shea Stadium, New York. The Mets are leading 5-0 over the Dodgers. And our celebration of the anniversary of his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers continues. Manny Alexander now at second base after coming on as a runner for Baerga in the 7th inning.
Number 6, Manny Alexander. Leading off, right fielder Raul Mondesi.
We have seen some highlights of Jackie Robinson in action. We want to see more. We've heard from Borland. Hits Mondesi right on the back with a 5-run lead.
Well, it looked like it was an off-speed pitch. The ball slipped out of his hand, and Mondesi didn't move.
Catcher
and you can't blame him because they need some base runners. Now watch, this ball kind of slips out of his hand. Looks like it's more of a fork ball or a palm ball. See right there, or else a breaking ball that just slips out and doesn't break.
So Mondesi is aboard, and here is Mike Piazza. Piazza walked his first time and then has been called out on strikes twice. And the count goes to 2-0. Again, this Mets bullpen has been real shaky early on in their road trip to open the season out of the West Coast. It seemed like every time Valentine went to the bullpen, something bad happened. Borland has already pitched 2 shutout innings in this one, but all of a sudden here in the 8th inning, and ironically, just as soon as he gets the big lead, and he has no feel for the strike zone, and Hundley goes out to visit with him.
In fact, the bullpen was so bad on the West Coast that Joe McIlvaine, the general manager, criticized them and then made a public apology a couple of days later.
Yeah, he said someone were pitching like little leaguers. And he held a press conference in San Diego to apologize for that. There's a called strike, 3-1. But obviously it shows you the trying times with the Mets right now, because they expect themselves to be a much better ball club this year than they have been after 6 years of losing seasons here. They got Reynoso back tonight. We saw that he could be a real valuable addition to their pitching staff. He pitched 5 shutout innings in this game, and they're still hoping to get back Jason Isringhausen and also Bill Pulsifer, who may be back in the next few weeks. This should be 2. Double play. April of 1972. Gil Hodges had passed away. Jackie Robinson went to his funeral and visited with Howard Cosell afterward.
Gil Hodges had died. I left the funeral with Jackie Robinson. We rode in a limousine.
Jackie, sometimes wonder about why you've been singled out for so much misfortune. I used to think about that, and I always think about Ralph Branco when Bobby Thompson hit the home run. And the priest told Ralph when he asked that very same question, did you ever think that maybe God gave you that particular position or that opportunity because you had the strength to understand it and to take it? And that's the only consolation I've had, wondering whether or not I'm being tested at this particular time. It sounds corny, I assume, but nevertheless, I've often thought about it because I have had my share of problems, and not only with my health, but with the family.
The health, that includes the coronary.
That includes
diabetes.
That includes diabetes.
That includes the loss of Jackie Jr.
Right.
High blood pressure.
Yeah.
And now your eyesight.
Now my eyesight.
How would you characterize your life?
Oh, I think I've had a great life, Howard. I'm very pleased. I've lived over 50 years. I've overcome many things. I've had a great family. I have a great family. I had a greater family, but I'm very pleased with the things. I don't know anything that I would do to change what has happened.
That was in April of 1972. Jackie Robinson with Howard Cosell after the funeral of Gil Hodges. And I thought to the comments of Rachel Robinson with us, Joe, when we heard Jackie Robinson there talking about that he's had a great life.
Yes.
And he wouldn't change a thing. And a sort of positive outlook and always looking forward. And there's the number 14 of Gil Hodges, retired here by the Mets. And of course, joined tonight by the number of Jackie Robinson, which in every other ballpark is also the case. Major League Baseball announcing tonight during the ceremonies here that the number 42, the number worn by Jackie Robinson, will be retired in perpetuity by all of Major League Baseball. And Rachel Robinson telling us that that was a complete surprise to her. Nobody had given her that information ahead of time either. There's the force out. Alexander to Ordonez. Hollingsworth hits the end of the force play. The Dodgers still without a run. Mets 5, Dodgers nothing. We go to the last of the 8th. This ESPN Baseball Specially is brought to you by Countrywide Home Loans. For 29 years, they've helped people get homes of their dreams. And by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. That was the view of Ebbets Field, and now where Ebbets Field once was. In the Flatbush section of Brooklyn, now an apartment building. Mets 5, Dodgers nothing. The Los Angeles Dodgers as we move to the last of the 8th inning. The Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute celebration from Shea Stadium. Tomorrow night, baseball right here on ESPN, 7:30 Eastern. Albert Bell, Frank Thomas, and the Chicago White Sox, they've really been struggling. And they take on the high-flying Baltimore Orioles of Cal Ripken and Rafael Palmeiro. Mike Messina probably on the mound for the Orioles tomorrow night. And the Orioles won again this evening, and they are 9-2, best record in the American League. And then at 10:30, the Stanley Cup playoffs. Hockey, Keith Tkachuk and the Phoenix Coyotes and the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, led by Teemu Selanne, Joe's favorite player. Always talking about him, Joe. It drives me nuts. Here's Bernard Gilkey against Todd Worrell on the pitch for Los Angeles. 5-0 for the Mets. Usually he comes in when they're ahead by a run or two late in the game. So he's just
getting some work in.
He's only allowed 1 hit so far this year. One of the best closers in the game. 2-0 the count. Bernard Gilkey 0 for 3. Hundley and Husky will follow. Well, we saw earlier tonight the swing of Jackie Robinson. And you mentioned how it had kind of the perfect approach.
Sound, very sound fundamentally, if anybody needed for me to say that.
And it was really, and maybe I'm wrong, but kind of, I don't know, a quiet swing.
Yes, well, he was very quiet. And I think you heard me say a lot of times that I believe in a quiet body, a quiet bat, and then attack. And that was kind of the way that he approached hitting. That's why he could handle a breaking ball as well, because he didn't have a lot of movement.
But when you talk to the people who saw him play, played with him, against him, it's always the base running that they talk about. And you mentioned that earlier, the disruptive qualities that he could bring to the game. He didn't steal a lot of bases, but for the time, he stole an awful lot of bases. I mean, the game just wasn't played that way at that time. And I want you to analyze his base stealing here at greater length, Joe, as soon as Yilke's at bat is finished.
Well, I've watched him field ground balls, and I've watched him hit, and I've watched him steal bases. And again, he was just very fundamentally sound. He did a lot of things that, you know, with him probably were just instinctive, and he just reacted to them.
3-2 to Gilkey. 2 strikeouts and a long fly ball. And he is battling it out with Worrell here. 3-2. 5-0. The Mets are leading the Dodgers. Well, one thing, certainly in the 2 leagues, the National League and the American League, you have a real different style of ball. The American League, they slug it out. A lot of power hitters, smaller ballparks. The National League, still more of a speed game, more of a premium on hitting and running, taking the extra base, getting the 1 run here or the 1 run there. Yilke gets the walk, and some people kind of trace that back to Jackie Robinson.
Well, I agree. Let's take a look at Jackie stealing. Now watch. He crosses over and he stays down. I think that's the track influence of him. You know, you stay down when you're running your first few steps. You see a lot of other runners straighten up and take off. And this was when he was at his most dangerous, as Richie Ashburn said. He could get caught in a hot box and move up to the next base on you.
Eddie Sawyer, who took over as the Phillies manager a few years after Jackie Robinson broke in, after seeing firsthand Jackie Robinson get out of one of those rundowns, called Richie Ashburn in. Ashburn, the fastest runner on the Phillies. He said, listen, you're out in center field. Usually you don't get involved in a rundown. If we get him in a rundown, Jackie Robinson, we need you to come racing in and get in there, because if he gets past all of us again, you're the one guy maybe has the speed to go get him. Todd Hundley, the hitter. And Eric Karras in foul ground. And Hundley is 0 for 4. 1 gone. But I noticed when you talk about his stealing, that crossover step, right? I mean, you always look for that.
Well, I look for it because that's the quickest way to start, you know, towards second base. A lot of guys move their right foot first, and then they go. And see right there, now see, he's taking off, but not only that, he crosses over with his left, but by that he also stays down. And again, that's the track influence. I think if you watch, a lot of times we show on television here, guys will start to second base, they stand straight up. You run fastest when you run low and you start up, you know, in the manner that the track guys come out of the blocks with. And that's what Jackie Robinson did there, which again, I think was part of his, he ran track, so I think that was the influence of track on his base stealing.
Most guys, you see, will lift up that front foot.
Right.
And take a first step with that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and actually that's kind of like you're running in place when you do that.
So that was interesting for me, Joe. I mean, 50 years later,
right? It's still the proper way to do it.
I just learned something about Jackie Robinson.
You know, you brought up a point about the National League and the American League. I believe, you know, Jackie Robinson's legacy changed the way the game was played in the National League, and I think that's why we have 2 distinct leagues now. And that is because Jackie Robinson came into the National League. He stole bases. He was aggressive on the bases. And the National League brought more black players in quicker than they did in the American League. And the American League was still under the influence, I think, of Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth hitting home runs in the smaller ballparks, and that's the way they played the game. The National League has always been an aggressive base running and hitting and running and stealing bases, whereas the American League has always been more about power. So I think that the legacy of Jackie Robinson also is the legacy of the National League. I mean, it's the way the game is played here.
Second baseman Manny Alexander.
2 down now, Manny Alexander. 10 seasons, that's all he had in the big leagues. He was 28 years old before he even got the chance to play in the big leagues. And the final numbers, he averaged nearly 20 steals per year over that time, even though by the end he had a real bad knee, wasn't able to run as much as he had.
And John, you know, like you grew up in the Bay Area, and you know when they were moving to the West Coast, the Dodgers were actually going to trade Jackie Robinson to the Giants, you know, and Jackie retired rather than play for anyone other than the Dodgers.
They actually had traded him,
right?
Much to his surprise, they traded him to the hated Giants. And of course, when they were both in New York, I mean, there was no more heated rivalry in any sport than those two teams and their fans. And Jackie Robinson then just decided to retire, and then wondered maybe if he shouldn't have. The Giants offered him more money than he had ever made with the Dodgers. The stories I read, he never made more than $50,000 in salary from the Dodgers in all that time. The Giants actually up there offered us $60,000, hoping to lure him out of that retirement and have him play. And then on opening day, he woke up, and the story was that his knee hurt so badly, he realized, hey, I made the right decision. The knee just wasn't going to let it happen any longer. 1 ball, 1 strike to Manny Alexander. Speaking of the Giants, they won again tonight in Philadelphia under Dusty Baker. One of the real surprising starts of any team. They're 9-3. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, a guy I wish that we could have chatted with tonight, I kind of missed his being here, was Frank Robinson.
Yes. I actually thought Frank was going to be here, because it would have been interesting, because, you know, in Jackie Robinson's final speech, you know, at the World Series in '72, he said he would hopefully live long enough to see a black face in the manager's position in the dugout. And Frank Robinson was the first black manager in Major League Baseball in 1975, 3 years, you know, after Jackie had passed away.
Frank Robinson, who came up with the Cincinnati Reds in 1956 and who endured many hardships himself along the way, particularly in the South during spring training in those years and as they traveled around to various cities. And Frank Robinson basically is out of baseball right now.
And I must say I was honored, because I had a chance to play for Frank Robinson. I had a chance to play for a black manager. And I played for Frank in 1981 and 1982 in San Francisco. So I'm a big Frank Robinson fan.
5-0. The Mets are leading. We're in the last of the 8th here at Shea Stadium. Many of the folks who were here for the celebration, the special ceremonies in the middle of the ball game, have headed home. Nice play by Gagne, getting it to Guerrero for the force out on Gilkey, and that ends the inning. We're going to the 9th inning now. 5-0 Mets. Shea Stadium in New York. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, and speaking just for myself, a thrill and an honor to be a part of the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute celebration here. And here we go to the 9th inning. Todd Zeile leads it off for the Dodgers. Well, I know, Joe, from a personal standpoint, I mean, Joe Morgan's second base, it almost goes without saying. And yet I know that you and second base had something to do with Jackie Robinson.
Of course. I mean, I was like most kids. I grew up, you know, idolizing a lot of major leaguers. And, you know, because he had made it possible for blacks to play in the major leagues, and because he played second base, you know, I wanted to be a second baseman.
Zeile down on strikes against Borland. That was his position, so you wanted that to be your position?
I wanted that to be my position.
Man, I'm glad he wasn't a catcher.
You're right.
Here's an update now with Carl Ravitch.
All right, John, thanks very much. In Baltimore and across the stadiums through the country, number 42 was shown in Baltimore and in Yankee Stadium. They checked out the speech by Bill Clinton as well as Rachel Robinson. Sports Center is minutes away. Dan Patrick, Bob Stevens standing by, all the reaction. Back to you to wrap it up. John?
Thanks, Carl. And that was very interesting.
Yes.
So around baseball, they joined our celebration right here at Shea Stadium. Very interesting there, but as they watched over at Yankee Stadium across town from here, they showed a close-up of Don Zimmer, who was a teammate of Jackie Robinson, at least for a brief time in Brooklyn. 2 strikes to Greg Gagne. Nelson Liriano is on deck to bat for Worrell. Deep into left. Gilkey out, number 2. Jackie Robinson, 50 years ago today, played his first major league game. Years later, he was on a show with Dick Enberg called Sports Challenge.
Your question, Dodgers, for 10 points. Eddie Arcaro on Nashua in that clip missed his chance for Derby win number 6. For 10 points, what jockey shares Arcaro's all-time record of 5 Kentucky Derby victories? You have 5 seconds.
Willie Hartack.
Willie Hartack is correct, and that was a tough one. 10 points for Jackie Robinson and the Dodgers.
Well, and obviously he was a great sports fan, too. Husky couldn't field the grounder off the bat of the pinch hitter Liriano. And what's that I'm hearing here in Queens? It sounds like a Bronx cheer.
Center fielder Brett.
That'll be an error all the way on Husky. But that was interesting. I mean, Duke Snyder had no idea.
Yeah.
So Jackie Robinson just answered. Well, the inning stays alive for Brett Butler. 5-0 for the Mets. Well, Bud Selig, who had made the announcement that Jackie Robinson's number 42 will be retired all across baseball in perpetuity. And then he came up and told us that baseball is going to have a renewed effort with much greater vigor than in the past to bring in African Americans, minorities into management positions, general managers, which has been an area where the baseball, frankly, and Bud Selig admitted it, that they have not done well.
Well, I think now that they've put out all the fires, the strikes, and everything else is behind us, there aren't any more excuses left. And I think something will be done, needs to be done, and I trust his words. I think something will be done. Because, I mean, if it should be done because the success of the other managers dictates that it be done. The other managers who have been successful, the other black managers who have been successful in the major leagues.
Sports Center coming up right after the game. More on the Jackie Robinson Day festivities, not just here in New York, but around baseball. NBA highlights and an NFL draft preview on Sports Center. And then right after the ball game, we want you to stay tuned because before we sign off from here, we have a special poem that was written by Ed Charles, former Mets third baseman. He wrote the poem the night that Jackie Robinson died. That is a foul ball, so the game is still going. Joe and I had a chance to hear Ed Charles' recitation of that poem earlier today on videotape, and it's beautiful.
Yes. Especially from another ball player. I think it's really revealing, and it's very important.
And he delivered it only the way that an author or the poet himself can deliver the poem that he's written. So that will be moments after the end of this ball game, so please stay tuned. 2 balls, 2 strikes. We want to thank Wee Reese, who is battling cancer and undergoing chemotherapy treatments and the ravages of that down in Venice, Florida. He joined us via satellite to talk about his former teammate Larry Doby. Came into New York. He joined us here in the telecast. And of course, special thanks to the lovely and very gracious Mrs. Rachel Robinson, who keeps the flame burning with the Jackie Robinson Foundation. Well, it's not over just yet. Borland thought he had that final out with the little ground ball to third, but Husky booted it. Now Butler has drawn the walk, and Wilton Guerrero will get a shot at it. And Borland's going to get a visit there from Bob Apodaca, the Mets pitching coach. Tomorrow night, the Baltimore Orioles off to a real hot start in the American League East. They won again tonight. They're 9-2. Cal Ripken hitting over 400. And the Orioles will take on Albert Bell. Frank Thomas, the big slugging duo, has not yet started to deliver. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Then Sunday night, Joe and I will have, I mean, it's going to be tough. Somebody's got to do it. We will be saying aloha from Honolulu, Hawaii. Ryan Jordan and the Cardinals. And MVP Ken Caminiti and the Padres. That's 8 Eastern, 2 Hawaiian. I'm thinking maybe we ought to just go over there tomorrow, Joe.
Wish we could.
Guerrero takes a strike. John Franco gets up in the Mets bullpen just in case, because if Guerrero gets on, then the Dodgers power comes up. Mondesi would be next. 5-0 Mets, 2 down, 9th inning. Now down to the final strike, and there's Franco just in case. $54,647. That was the total attendance at the ballpark tonight. In the air, Lance Johnson. The Mets with their first home victory of 1997. That brings an end to the Jackie Robinson 50th anniversary tribute celebration here at Shea Stadium. And Joe, a great night.
Well, it's been a great night, and it's been an honor for me to be able to work it, and I think it's great what baseball plans to do for Jackie Robinson.
Ed Charles' moving poem in tribute to Jackie Robinson still to come. Please stay with us.
Tomorrow night, the conclusion of this 2-game series.